Hey everybody, this is Daryl, aka Buddy from the Simply Incredible Podcast, and today is Origin Stories episode 4 with my good friend Varangian. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Was really looking forward to this one. Since
I've
I've
been
seen
looking forward to.
the other Origin shows and they were all awesome.
Oh, thank you. It's all due to the guests. It's definitely not due to me. I've been very blessed to have some very amazing guests, and this is the first time we go international. We are from where?
Austria.
Austria, home of?
Yeah, it's in the heart of Europe, not the country with the koalas and kangaroos.
Throw another shrimp on the bobby.
Yeah, that's a whole other place.
I was literally thinking about that before we did the show, and I was thinking Dumb and Dumber.
Austria is basically Austria is the little brother of the German Republic.
Yeah, just south, right?
Yes, south is basically Bavarian Austria it's a very fluid transition.
Ah, gotcha. So the main thing we talk about here is, first off, is how did you get into comics, aka your comic book origin story?
Comics go way back. My father loved Marvel, so I grew up with all the Marvel Silver Age and Bronze Age stories, of course, with the German translations by the Williams Verlag, and this was some of my early memories, like reading Marvel, especially SpiderMan, Fantastic Four. I mean, my name is Thorsten, and my father named me not after the real existing four, but my father named me after Marvel 4. So, and then I also grew up with the Mickey Mouse comics they're still very popular here, because I think Disney has a licensing deal with Italy, and there are a lot of Disney stories that are written in Italy. Some of them never made it to the US, especially where they made a parodies of famous European folklore, and were telling them with Donald Duck and Scrooge McDuck. So that's hugely popular. And of course, there's also a huge Franco-Belgian comic scene in Europe. And I read a lot of Spanish comics when I was a kid. So I was growing up with different kind of comics, and absolutely best part of my childhood. And later on, I was always reading comics, but I stopped buying regular comics as a teenager. I was reading some stuff, like mostly here in Europe, we're buying comics at train stations. So when I went to school, I bought sometimes comics, but it was not my a very active reading time. I was more reading fantasy novels and science fiction novels at that time. But when I began studying history, I think it was 2007, I was studying in Salzburg, and back then I lived in Upper Austria, which was about 1.5 hours train time to go there. So what you do on the train? You either sleep, but obviously you're not learning anything there. So I was thinking, yeah, well, let's get back into comics. So I just ordered some trades back then, because I had no idea how to get single issues. And even when I bought my first trades, I was thinking, oh, how convenient, they're making this figure now. Yeah, because obviously you can't really get the English books here like in regular course. There are translations, but I absolutely hate the quality of the translations, especially the Panini books translated in a very horrible Northern German youth slang, and I absolutely hate it. I'm a really fan of more classic German literature like Schiller, Goethe, and the way the current youth talks is an abomination. So I really prefer reading English, and that's why I bought the books on trade because I was able to get them quite easily over Amazon.
Hmm.
So I was reading especially Conan from Dark Horse. I bought the trades, and I was back then. I was very deep in the New 52. I really loved the Demon Knights, the Amethyst reboot was amazing. And I also read, Batman. I think the beginning of the Snyder Run was quite good. Later, it sucked.
Yeah.
But I really liked the New 52. So I
Mhm.
think I was one of the few people uh, that stopped reading DC with Rebirth.
I like the beginning of the New 52 with the Court of Owls Batman. I thought that was an amazing run. Uh, and a little bit of the rebirth stuff I kind of like, but I've kind of gotten out of them myself too.
The problem is that most of the titles that I was interested in were cancelled, like Demon Knights. Demon Knights is so underrated. I think it's collected in free trades, and it tells an amazing story with Etrigan in the medieval age, in the medieval time. And Amethyst is an epic dark fantasy tale. I mean, even when you look at the Bronze Age Amethyst stories of DC, some of the best DC stories ever written. And the New 52 Amethyst was really it felt a little bit like it was like the Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones, which basically means it was a little bit like Dune in a fantasy world. You have
Yeah.
the houses fighting against each other, and there was also a very interesting crossover with John Constantine. So I would totally recommend get the Amethyst back issues, get the Demon Knight back issues. I think you can pick them up in the dollar bins. Those were the best New 52 titles. I think
Mhm.
Forever Evil was also quite good later on, but I think it was spending a lot of money on DC Comics back in days. But start coming Rebirth, it's dropped, and now I'm not reading any new DC books.
Yeah. I see that a lot in the comic industry. One of the things that you touched on, I was going to ask you about, is the translations. I mean, I was because I was wondering how really close they were in some of the
Yeah.
books.
It depends really on the publisher. There's a German publisher is called Splitter Verlag, and their translations are spot on. You can really tell that they usually translate more sophisticated comics from France, but also they also translated Berserker Unbound. So those translations are really good, but the translations by Panini, they're really horrible. It's horrible youth slang, you know, and I can't stomach those. And later, I was of course, I was. Oh yeah, greetings to everybody in the chat. uh, and later, when I was reading Conan, I found out that they're doing a crossover with Wonder Woman. And I've seen a variant cover by Liam Sharp. And on this variant cover, Conan looked like really like a mixture of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bustima's Conan, and I needed to get that cover. So I was looking on the internet where I was able to get US comics here in Europe, and I found a comic book store. It's called Andy's Comic Express, and there was figuring out you can have something like a pull list. You subscribe to a comic, and ever since I switched from trades to floppies, which doesn't mean that I not also buy the trades of books I love. So
I mean, that's the biggest thing for me. It's like old books. I have to buy trades or internet. Just read them over the internet. That's
there are also some books that I loved where I loved the stories, but I couldn't care less to pick up the floppies, especially with more expensive books that I'm interested in, but not so invested in that I really want to spend money on it.
Hmm.
Like one of my most favorite, yeah, Achtung! One of my most favorite Marvel stories of all time is, of course, like the whole Infinity Saga.
Yeah.
But it's for me, it's enough to have it on trade. Like I bought it, I think, for 10 euros, used in trade, and I'm reading this trade once a year, so it's enough. I don't really need floppies for
Hmm.
that. I really brought my single issue collecting to a point where I just keep the stuff that I'm really invested in. Of course, Conan, Red Sonja, Transformers,
Transform. Love
Vampirella,
Transformers.
yeah, Deja Torres. This is the stuff I'm really collecting.
Hmm.
But other stuff, I'm buying more single issues, like also some indies. But with those is, if I want to reread them, I will keep them. Otherwise, I will just resell them.
Yeah,
I
that's kind of
just
the direction I've started going too. Is if you look right there, yeah, I've got a nice stack of books there that I'm actually starting to go through now and kind of pick and choose more because I've got
yeah, because that is what I'm trying to avoid.
yeah I've got a few thousand books over here, probably about 4,000, and I'm slowly going through them, getting some pressed, ready to send off, start selling, and just like
Yeah, it's also like with some books, where I'm like, will I ever reread this? Then I just put it on eBay.
mm-hmm,
If I have no interest in reading, if I say it's okay, it's a good story, it will stay with me in my memories, but I don't have the space for that. Would I love to have every comic? Yeah, if I would have a bloody castle, no problem. But very few people have that much space to have all the comics. And the next thing is also that with some you have to take care of them. You have to change like every 10 years at least the bags and boards,
yep,
especially now since it's impossible to get any Mylar in Europe since the lockdown.
yeah. And the price
Yeah.
of everything is skyrocketed the last year. It's just like you can't do it anymore.
Yes, and I really rather have my collection focused on the stuff that I really love than go all around.
See, you mentioned the German Mickey Mouse stuff. I have one around here, and I thought it was right here. That's what I was looking for, and it's not right here. I must have put it up, and I could have sworn I left it over here. Ugh. That's the only German book I have, and I was like, "Man, I got the German Mickey Mouse." It's from like I believe the 1960s, I think.
Yeah, is it like comic format? Comic like the Mickey Mouse?
Yeah, it's a Mickey Mouse comic. Yeah.
Yeah, those come out here every Thursday, and Thursday is in German Donnerstag. Of course, the both words come from four, which
Hmm.
another German name for four is Donner, and Donner is thunder. So it's basically Thunder Day, but it's Force Day, obviously. And they had this wordplay with the Mickey Mouse magazine is coming out every Donnerstag, like instead of Tag, Duck, like yeah.
I am so mad. I could have sworn I had it right here.
Donald
No,
Duck.
no. I'm gonna stop looking now. I'm gonna stop looking.
Yeah,
That's what I'm looking for. It looks like I'm not paying attention. I'm paying attention, but I was like, I really want to show that book. Oh well.
yeah.
Oh well. But anyway, one thing we kind of touched on a second before we started, before we went live, is how cool it has to be able to look around and find comics from multiple countries. Because here in America, I mean, you look online, it's like a Canadian variant price. Oh my gosh. People go nuts over it. And it's just like, for me, if I found books from like 4 or 5 different countries, like how awesome would that be?
It's crazy because also here in Europe, you have the Canadian price variants, but there are also British price variants, the pence variants.
Hmm.
which are not reprints but really variants because they came out at the same times. Hallo, Man Cave, grüß dich. And they came out at the same time. And the funny thing is, here in Europe, the pens variants are so bloody cheap. So basically, for a Grail, if you can get it in a pens variant, it's half the price, even though the print run is so much lower than the sand price.
Wow.
And I really think that the pens price variant is something that could totally go crazy in the next months, year, because apparently now everything that has a lower print run, like the newsstand, the Canadian price variant, and yeah, even second and third prints.
Yeah.
Apparently, everything is going crazy now that has a lower print run.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it seems like to me, the few that I've seen here, it seems like they are a little bit less, but in my mind, I'm thinking the print run would have to be less, but at the same time, I don't know the market in Europe and stuff, so I don't know if it's like America where people go crazy over them.
Yeah, the European market is, it's so divided. Like just when you take a look at the German area, obviously we have the translated format, and also as I found out now, there's quite a lot of shops where you can pick up the US variants and get a pull list. Of course, in order to have these books guaranteed, I'm pre-ordering all the books that I want 3 months ahead. So I'm going through the previews and say, okay, I want this, and then I pre-order it, and then I can be guaranteed if Diamond doesn't fuck up that I'm getting the book. But Diamond is always, it's a dice roll with them.
Yeah.
But this makes it that here, people that read German books, translations, and people like me that read the American originals, we basically don't have any touch points. Like, I don't know anybody who reads the German books. These are two total different communities.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't mix. Like there's also YouTube channels of people talking about the Panini stuff, but it's really, I don't have any contact with them. Like people that I know here that also read the American books also don't have any contact with them. It's like it's two different subcultures.
Yeah, it just has my mind is like the Bloods and the Crips.
It's not a hostility or anything. It's just it's also in terms of storytelling, because books that are out in the US, it takes months to be translated. So if you only read the German books, you're like months behind on the stories.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so if they would watch like all the American channels, they would get spoiled. And why should I watch like channels of stories that I have read months before?
It's like, wait, I forgot that happened in that.
Yeah, it's two different subcultures.
Now, do y'all speak a lot of English there?
We have English in school starting. I think I had some English in preschool. But we really have English as a main course in high school. But I also think that what we call high school is a little bit earlier than the American high school system. Like school system are completely different.
So one of my good friends, she lives in Sweden, and she's like, yeah, we all learn English. And I was like, really? That's fascinating to me.
We have a lot of time to learn stuff because we are not so busy shooting up school.
It's sad because it's true.
More time in school and not running away from it.
Like here, it's like I think now. Again, I'm 48, so back in my day, we had a choice of like German, Spanish, Latin for some reason, and I think it was like one other language, and so we had a choice. But I think now it's like it's either learn English, obviously, and Spanish.
Yeah, because
you can pick another language.
You really need in the US in some parts.
I mean, 'cause I told people, it's like, well, if I had known back in the 1980s how German would not help me in the least bit, and
Yeah.
Spanish would actually help me now.
Yeah, we don't have any plans on taking the world again, so you're not really needing
Fingers
it.
crossed.
Maybe in a few years, who knows? Like first time's a charm.
Oh my goodness! Wow, wow. I don't know where to go from there. You know what? Let's talk about someone who did take over the world, Arnold,
Exactly, the
the
most
Governator.
successful Austrian since Mozart, basically.
I mean, I still remember when I was working out all the time, and I saw Pumping Iron.
Oh, I love pumping iron.
I mean, but before that, I knew Arnold, but this was Arnold before Arnold got huge. Well,
Yeah,
he was huge, but I mean, famous.
yeah.
I mean, famous. But he, the line that he said in that movie, I, I'm coming in the gym. I'm coming when I'm home. Everything. And because when I first saw that, I was like, I don't think he knew what he meant. I rewound him like he knew exactly what he meant.
Yep. I mean, you also have to say that Pumping Iron is half documentary and half scripted.
Yeah.
So Arnold tried. I mean, Arnold is one arrogant son of a gun, but he tried to be even more arrogant for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It almost comes across that Lou Ferrigno is like the upcoming hero and Arnold is the villain.
Mm-hmm.
The villain wins.
Yeah.
In the year. And it's Pumping Iron is one of the most motivating movies ever made.
Yeah.
Like when I work out, I have Pumping Iron in the background. It's like doesn't matter what you do when you have Pumping Iron in the background, you can do it forever.
Yeah. This is a movie I was actually about to bring up.
It's a very underrated movie. I truly love it. It's an awesome comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, with the original voice track that they gladly were able to put back in the movie, it's hilarious. But do you know how he got the role?
No.
Arnold, back in the day, he already had ambitions to go like into the movies, and Joe Weider from the Weider Empire from Master and Fitness magazine. He brought Arnold to the US, and the movie producers for Hercules in New York were looking for a strong guy with acting experience, and Weider called there and said, "Oh, they have a perfect guy. He's a Shakespearean actor from Austria." There is no Shakespearean actor.
I think that's the first time I've ever heard Arnold and Shakespearean actor in the same sentence.
Which, of course, is a running gag they used later in Last Action Hero with Arnold as Hamlet. Mm-hmm. And in Jurassic Park, The Lost World, when the T-Rex stormed into the videotheque at the end, there was a movie poster, a fake movie poster for Arnold as King Lear.
Yeah.
So this like Arnold as Shakespearean actor became a running gag because of how he got the role for Hercules in New York. And when they found out that he can barely speak English at that point, it was too late.
So I remember watching the movie and had that dubbed, and I was like, that is terrible.
Yeah. And the original it's like, I'm Hercules, the son of Zeus.
And then when I heard him talk, I'm like, I can clearly understand him. Why did you need to do that?
Nice chariot, but where the horses?
when that scene, they're walking down the road, they see that poster of Hercules.
Yeah.
And he rips his shirt off to start flashing. Oh, it cracks me up every time.
And of course, when he's fighting the bear.
Yep.
Classic.
That is only a great movie. I mean, it's hilarious. It's really good. Oh my goodness, Hercules in New York. Good times.
But it's a really good comedy, I think. It's very entertaining. Of course, it's not anything like it's not a blockbuster or not a critically acclaimed movie by any meaning, but it's a really light-hearted comedy that is enjoyable, and you can laugh at it, you can laugh with it.
Yep.
So it's quite successful in that point. But of course, it wasn't released back in the day. It was only released after Arnold already was successful.
Really? That I did not know.
Yeah, which is funny because actually the movie that he got his Golden Globe as Best Newcomer was Stay Hungry, the adaptation of the bodybuilding movie, which is actually, I don't think it's a good movie. I think the ending is very interesting, but the movie itself is quite boring. And yeah,
I've never heard of that.
The villain with Kirk Douglas. It's
Sorry? You free?
Then he also did the movie The Villain, a Western movie with Kirk Douglas.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And of course, later, the best movie that was ever produced, Conan the Barbarian.
All right, that one was that the one with Grace Jones?
That was Conan Destroyer.
Destroyer, yeah. I always get those two confused as to which one came out first because I thought they were both really, really good movies.
Both very different, but I absolutely love both. Of course, Conan the Barbarian is a masterpiece. It deviates a lot from the lore from Robert E. Howard, but I still think it captures the rawness and the atmosphere of the Hyborian Age. And it was really like a Death Series movie. It's a masterpiece. Conan the Destroyer, more lighthearted, because Dino De Laurentiis also wanted to make a PG-13 movie because he thought he could make more money. Turned out it wasn't the way.
Gosh. I mean, I just remember how just chiseled he was. I mean, just is incredible. I remember when he's holding that sword, it's just like, oh my goodness.
The first time I have seen Arnold, I remember it was an Austrian newspaper. I was a kid, and the Austrian newspaper was black and white, and there was a picture of Arnold holding a woman. And I asked my father, is this the Hulk?
It's not Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah, Arnold brought this part to Lou Ferrigno because originally they wanted to cast Arnold as Hulk. Oi, Grayman! They wanted to cast Arnold, but Arnold already had his focus on his movie career. But he said, pick Lou Ferrigno.
And one thing going back to Pumping Iron, I mean, the cast of guys that was in that. I mean, Ferrigno, who became famous for Hulk, but another guy, was it Ivan Putski? No, was not
in it.
The shorter guy. What was the shorter
guy? Franco Colombo.
Yeah, it's Colombo. Because I remember when I was little watching the World's Strongest Men competitions back then. I remember he broke his leg.
Oh yeah, there was.
I think he was carrying a refrigerator.
Yes, and
I was like, oh my god!
Like he was out of bodybuilding, I think, for 2 years.
Yeah.
Later on, he won the Mr. Olympia again.
Oh, did he?
In 1981. But he was not the same ever since.
Yeah.
But he also had a movie career, and sadly, he passed away 2 years ago. He had a swimming accident in his home in Sardinia, and he drowned.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I remember hearing he died. I didn't remember hearing how he died. He passed away.
I absolutely love Franco. Such a fantastic human being. Best friend of Arnold, and I also love the movies he did. Like there are a lot of very B-movie action movies like Ancient Warriors or Beretta's Island, where Arnold has a short cameo in it. Then also there's he's also in an early MMA movie where Vernon Wells is also in it, but I forgot the title. But I say it's like if you want to have really trashy B movies, action movies. Track down Franco's movie. Like movies, filmography, there are some gems in there. And of course, he's also the infiltration Terminator in the original Terminator. The infiltration unit in the future is portrayed by Franco Colombo.
Yeah.
And the recent Terminator video game, which I totally recommend, fantastic game, they have an infiltration mode where you can play as Franco.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. And of course, Franco was also the Pictish scout in Conan the Barbarian in the beginning, when they explored the Conan's village.
Gosh, man. Wow. Anyway,
yeah.
Back forward a little bit. Now we're going forward some more. The Western, you mentioned the Western because I remember that as a kid. What was the name that you said?
The Villain.
I've got to go back and watch that again. I got to find it. I hope it's on something because I remember seeing that, gosh, back in the probably 80s, I guess it was. And I was like, who is that big dude? Because that, again, before Terminator, before what else? Commando, which to me, I love Commando too. I think that's a great movie.
I have this iron rule. When I have no idea what to watch and I can't find a movie within 20 minutes, I put Commando on.
Bennett.
Bennett, I thought you were dead.
What was that? What did he say when he like throws that pipe through him? He's got steam coming out.
Let off some steam, Bennett.
Those one-liners. Gosh, he's got so many great ones. Oh my God.
You're funny guy, Sonny. That's why I'm good.
What is your favorite Arnold movie? Is it the Conan the Barbarian?
Conan the Barbarian it's my favorite movie of all time. If I only have 2 hours and a few minutes to live, and somebody would ask me what I want to do, is like put Conan on.
Wow. Huh. I think I'd go Underworld just because of my love for Kate Beckinsale.
Kate Beckinsale in leather. Yeah.
It's a good couple hours. So, gosh.
You only need like 5 minutes.
You know me better than I thought you did. No. But let's see. What else with Arnold? I remember you saying one time you had a chance to meet him, or did not happen.
I haven't met Arnold yet. There would have been a chance last year in April when he came to Vienna for the World Summit, but a pandemic came in between. And every time he visited the museum, because he never announces himself, I missed him 4 times.
Oh, gosh.
And I worked at the museum, but when I'm there, until I'm there with the bus, Arnold is gone already. So
that would be so awful.
I met Ralph Möller, who is also an awesome Conan, and an awesome dude too, and a giant. Like I made a photo with him. I look like a bloody hobbit next to him.
All right, how tall are you?
In 1 meter, 1 meter and 75 centimeter, but.
Let's do the math on that. 3 plus. it's like 5 something. So I'm 5'6". I don't know how many centimeters that is.
Yeah.
How is it possible we're the only country that does this? It's sad.
Because you think you're a special snowflake.
I actually only learned a few years ago that it became official for us in like the 60s or maybe 70s that we're like, you know what, this is what we're doing. We're going miles, we're going, pounds, we're going feet and inches. Like the rest of the world can be different.
At least you drive on the right side and not like the British.
Yes. Yeah, it's funny because up until a few years ago, I thought we were the only ones that drove on the side of the road, on the right side of the road. Like, no, Britain's one of the few that doesn't. It's crazy Brits. But I like them. They're okay. They're good people.
Small iron, small chimpo.
let's see, what other movies do you like?
Basically, I'm a huge fan of exploitation movies, especially Italian exploitation from the 60s to the 90s, all the giallo and splatter movies, science fiction, low fantasy, obviously. Yeah, those are my big loves. Great man. Actually, it's England is a wonderful country. I've been to London a few times, and it's really nice city. Obviously, because you see all the world's cultures in London, because the empire stole everything and put it
Yeah,
in museums, so you have everything in one place.
yeah. I was one of my friends. He's married to a lady from England, and I was like, man, I want to go to England sometime. Can't wait to go to Paris. She's like, it's not in England. I'm like, oops. I know it's in France. It's a joke. It's only a joke. It's not only is it a joke. It's a bad joke.
There are no jokes.
But I definitely do want to go to like just Europe, just all over Europe, because me being in America, that is so much history there. I mean,
And
it's
for
all over Europe.
and being an American is what I always hear from Americans that visit Europe, that you have a total different sense of distance, in the meaning that the US is so giant, and you say, I'm taking a short trip, it's only an 8 hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Europe, when I say 8 hours, I can't be in France in 8 hours. It's like for here, it's like, oh, I have to. It's like 40 minutes until I get there. It's so far. Because it's so small. It's like if you take a look at the maps, Europe is always a little bit bigger on the maps than it actually
Mm-hmm.
is. So it's especially on our maps,
Yeah.
Europe is way too big on there. So for US tourists, they always go like through all Europe and think it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's one of my friends again from Sweden. She's like, yeah, like in an hour I can go to Denmark if I want to. Yeah, like another hour I'm in Europe going. I can go to like 5 different countries. I'm like, gosh,
Yeah, it's really it's. I also like I have a few minutes bus drive and I'm in Italy. Two more hours and I camp in Croatia at the beach. Then yeah, Slovakia, Hungary, the Czech Republic, of course the German Republic, Switzerland. It's all around and it's all in a few hours, max like 2 to 3 hours maximum drive.
that's crazy. I mean, again, for Americans, it's like 3 hours for me is one state away.
Yeah, it's. I think I mean, Texas alone is bigger than all of Europe.
Wow, wow, I never thought of that. So I know one of my friends is from like one side of Texas, and he said to go from this side of Texas to the other side of Texas, it's like an 18-hour drive.
Yeah, it's in Austria we have some few like states like in there we have a state that's called Burgenland, and there are more people of Burgenland of this descent from Burgenland in Chicago than there are actually in Burgenland today here.
Wow. I will say this. This is the most I've learned about that because I would have never thought Europe could basically almost fit in Texas.
Yeah, it's really it isn't really small.
That's crazy to me. Wow.
Check
I'm
Kirby.
learning history slash
Jack Kirby,
geography right now.
yeah. Jack Kirby's parents are from Vienna. They moved from Vienna to the US.
I knew they were but he had European history. I didn't know ancestry. Excuse me. I didn't know where from though. That's interesting. Go Jack.
I I'm still trying to find the birth house of his parents in Vienna, but I have no success yet.
He's going around stalking people's houses.
Yeah.
So, who's your favorite artist, by the way?
My favorite, like in terms of classic comic book artists, it's Frank Thorne.
Mm-hmm.
His Red Sonja, Gita of Alisa. I love the way how he draws women. Fantastic guy, and still very fun and active. I think this year he's going to be 91 years old. Still a horny old geezer. Yeah, of course, Frank Frazetta.
See, that was actually going to be the one I thought you would say first, was Frazetta.
Yeah. I mean, being named Frank translates into being a great comic book artist. I mean, Frank Thorne, Frank Frazetta, Frank Brunner, all fantastic artists.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a Hall of Fame of comic book artists just by a Frank Hall of Fame.
The Frank Hall of Fame. That's just a funny thought. Let's talk about that, Frank.
Yeah.
Hey, Frazetta, I love Frazetta's work.
Frazetta,
some of
amazing.
his stuff on Vampirella, just golly. I mean,
That's Vampirella is number one. Vampirella number one is number one on my hunt list for this year.
I mean, that cover. I mean, some of his early stuff. I mean, it's art, but it looks almost photographic. Some of his stuff is so good.
I mean, he was also a huge photographer. He loved photography. And what I also really like about Frazetta, I think he rarely drew from reference. So the anatomy is not always like totally correct, but it's a fantastic style. Because sometimes when artists draw too much from reference, it's a certain like uncanny valley sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like with Greg Land. I mean, he always gets this right.
I mean, what about you like somebody like J. Scott Campbell?
I like some of his art. I don't like the way how he draws men.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very good cheesecake artist. I absolutely love the Hella cover he did.
Yep.
Then, also like, he's a good artist. But at one point, everything looks the same.
I mean, to me, there's some covers that he's done I will think amazing. Then some I'm like, really? There's one SpiderMan cover that he did where the woman is, I think she's leaning against a motorcycle, and her leg looks like it's about 20 feet long. Like that leg is way too long. And people are like, man, it's a great cover. I'm like, no, it's not a great cover.
Yeah, with some covers, people, I think they just go after the name.
Yeah.
And are not focusing so much on whether or not it's like really masterpiece. With some artists, it's a little bit sad even. When you look at Alex Ross or Lucio Perillo, both fantastic artists, almost like totally photorealistic almost, but they're having so much output that when they make a new cover, it's like it doesn't always. It's like it's beautiful, but you're not giving it so much respect because you're getting one every week.
That's actually how I feel about Art Germ.
Yeah, Art Germ, it's also one of these.
It's like Art Germ, I love his work, but it's like sometime last year I just got to the point it's like, slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
Give us a little time to appreciate this.
I know they also want the paycheck, so I totally get it.
I totally agree.
You're not saying no to, especially as a comic book artist.
Yeah.
You're not saying no to a gig.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is like they only have such amount of time that they can actually draw to a certain level. And then, sometimes their skill level starts to kind of go down a little bit. So they got to capitalize where they can, but at the same time, it's like, dude.
And let's just say 90% of the comic book artists that sell their art and autographs on cons are not there because they love the medium so much. They are there because they need it to survive.
Yeah, yeah. And I've always said this. I have zero problem paying an artist for a signature on a book. And I know some people's like, I mean, they should do it for free. I'm like, dude, one, they're taking time out, they're traveling somewhere. Even if the Comic Con is paying for them to go, at the same time, that's time away from, many times their family and stuff. So, I mean, I
Yeah,
think they should get paid for it.
yeah. I don't think I would pay for a signature, but only because I'm not a big fan of having a signature on the book.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the only I only want a signature of a book when an artist is a friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like something personal, like with Jim Bayland or Mahmoud Asra. So it's like they're like a signature because it's a signature friend did for me.
That makes sense. I mean, I'm going to do a list one day of pet peeves of mine. I think one of my biggest pet peeves is signatures that you cannot read. That drives me insane.
Yeah.
I
But you
mean,
know what? There was one point in Vienna at the Comic Con, I was really thinking about if I should get a Frank Miller signature. Because he just came to the Vienna Comic Book Con because he wanted to visit Vienna. Because he loves Vienna, he loves European cities. And the Comic Cons are here not so huge, so there was not really a waiting line. But I didn't want to pay 50 euros to get my RoboCop versus Terminator side.
mm-hmm. See, I don't mind paying like $5 for a signature, but as much as I like Neil Adams' artwork, I mean, sometimes he charges $70, $80, $100 for a signature. Like, no, $5, I'm behind that. I'm good for that.
Mm.
I mean, I will buy a print and get it signed, no problem.
Yeah,
But
I think also you have to factor also, I think, the age of the artist.
mm-hmm.
Like, if I would meet Frank Thorne in person,
Yeah,
I would totally pay like $80 for a signature.
mm-hmm.
But only if I would meet him in person, so I have something to connect with the signature.
Right.
And I wouldn't let him sign an expensive book, just a regular cover.
That's
Because
how I am too.
Yeah, because I don't want to fuck up an expensive book with a signature.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah.
It's like when I met Stan Lee, I had him sign Dark X-Men and a SpiderMan Renew Your Vows.
Oh, that's interesting.
And the reason is, well, the Spider-Man was because it's a blank cover, and I just thought the signature right in the middle of it just pops out to me instead of blending in with artwork on the back on the cover. That's why I want that one.
You also have to pick the right color and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was just like, yeah, that's cool to me. It doesn't have to be a Spider-Man 1. I would never get those expensive books signed. Exactly. I know a lot of people think the exact opposite. I'm like, why would you want to do that?
Like for me, it's like when I would see a book I want and it's signed, like I'm paying half the price. Like the cover is obviously like it has writing with a marker on it.
Yeah. And that's how CGC sees it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. Yeah, there's only a couple I have gotten through the CGC mail-in or the CBCS. CGC. It's just because I couldn't meet them, so I was like, all right, like Robert Kirkman on some Walking Dead. It's like,
I also bought some Sarah Frazetta comics signed.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also because I already had a live stream with Sarah and we write sometimes, so I consider her also a friend. So that's fine with me, and I don't think I will do so.
That was a fun stream y'all did.
Yeah, she's really fun. I already also sent her an AOK. Hopefully, will arrive next week.
Mm-hmm.
I I sent some German heavy metal magazines which were called Schwermetall here,
Hmm.
and some of them also had Fraser covers, which were not used in the US for heavy metal.
Hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah, so pretty sure she will like that.
I mean, I find it cool and really interesting that you'll have a cover in one country, but it won't be the same cover in another country. I just find that
Yeah.
interesting.
It's sometimes, especially with older covers, it has a lot to do with censorship in
Yep.
Germany.
Hmm.
Like Germany had a very strict rule of not having children in danger. Like the comics code is nothing compared to that. There were whole video games totally revamped for the German market. Like Contra was released as Pro Protector, and you were playing mechas and not humans.
So, I mean, is it because of a certain German political party back in the 30s that a lot of
Oh
stuff
no, this
came?
is nothing to do with it. I mean, you can maybe say it's that was part of a demilitarization,
Hmm.
like in the sense, but I really think that the German Republic then tried to be holier than holy,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I think it's stupid. I'm not a fan of censorship in any way.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things that America is going through right now with the Punisher. They're talking about getting rid of the Punisher logo.
That's also so stupid.
That's ridiculous to me.
Yeah, because this is like this is just cosmetics. This is not about the symptoms. You don't change a mindset by censoring a symbol,
Yeah,
and they wouldn't mind. They're still using it because you can't erase the Punisher's history.
exactly. I mean, one of the biggest. You know what? I was gonna say one of the biggest characters in Marvel, but no, no.
But he's one of the biggest like Bronze Age coming out of the Bronze
Yeah,
Age characters from
yeah.
Marvel,
He's not,
and
you know, when you really think about it, he's probably a top 10 Marvel
yeah,
character.
yeah, and this is what I don't like about the current culture because they think that they can control somebody's conviction with censorship, and that's not how it works.
Yeah,
You can never change somebody's mind through censorship. You can only push them in the underground.
yep. And it's, I remember way back in the day, I remember hearing if you forget your past, you're doomed to repeat it.
Yes, and it's the same here. In Austria and the German Republic, it's like swastikas and everything is forbidden.
Hmm.
Do we have less Nazis because of that? No, they just use different symbols.
Yeah, yeah. It's, I mean, it's like with us, it's like we're trying to get rid of everything um, from the Civil War era. Now I'm just like,
It's
you're
also
just you're just making these people, you're giving them fuel to make them like more angry, and like just let it go. Just let it
I
go.
know, and it's the weird thing is also that like the truth is something that is very early killed in the war. And I mean, the American secession was primary, like every war in this world is primary a business war.
Yeah,
And like the North was not abandoning slavery out of humanitarian reasons. They were like about it because they wanted to damage the southern economy with the cotton production.
yeah.
Like
There's a lot of free labor down
abandoning,
there.
abandoning slavery was a very positive side effect.
100% agree. And
Yeah,
it's sad. All these years later, we're still fighting the same war. It's like, dude,
I
everybody's
know.
equal. Everybody's equal. Just
It's the same craziness also with the current pandemic. I always had a very low opinion about human society, but I will. It's like, but it can always get lower, as I found out.
Isn't that the
It's,
truth?
with all the technology and science we have nowadays, one might think that we would be we would be better prepared against the pandemic, like in medieval times, with the bubonic plague or the Spanish flu in like in 20th century. Now we're making the same stupid mistakes because I heard a very nice quote a while ago where somebody said that a person can be intelligent, but people are always stupid.
Yeah, yeah. I will say this: when they talked about having a vaccine, I was like, "There's no way they're coming out with that for a year or two." And when it started coming out, I was like, "Wow, can't believe that." And now they still can't get it out to people.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think. Obviously, when you focus on something, of course, you have. It will take at least 1 year to get like all the tests through and to really find the mixture how it only attacks the virus. But when the whole world focus on something, it's not a miracle to come out with this.
Yeah, yeah,
And especially as when rich people take it, don't be afraid you can take it.
yeah. And that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was one of the things I was wondering because I know here in America, there's so many people that like you'll never get me to take that. It's the government trying to rule us. Like it's not the government trying to rule. It's trying to protect people. Come on. And and
Yeah.
again, I was talking to my friend in Sweden, and she's like, "Hey, we'll take it in a heartbeat."
Yeah, it's all like I have no problem with it. It's like, yeah, why not?
Yeah, I mean, but there's I mean, to me, it's quite a difference in mentalities because here it's like everybody questions everything.
Yes. I think that especially in the US, we never in Europe we don't have this perception of freedom.
Hmm.
It's a complete different mindset here. Like here, everybody like our government is shit, but we still follow rules because it's the law.
It's a spot. We have definitely created quite the conspiracy culture here, no doubt about it.
Well, the agreement says was isn't David Icke British?
Oh, Putin's daughter took it, so it must be.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. You know what? Enough political talk. Gosh, that's a road I didn't expect to go down. Uh, you mentioned museums. You said you work in a museum. Like what kind of a museum?
I worked in a museum. I worked in the Arnold Schwarzenegger Museum in Thal.
I didn't know he had a whole museum.
Yeah, in his birthplace, his birth house is now a museum dedicated to him.
Well, that's awesome.
It's a really nice place.
That's cool. I would have never thought of that. I guess it makes sense. I mean, he became huge, so why not? Yeah. But like you said, when you went to other places, you also like museums. I think you said that a little while ago. So do you actually go to other museums when you go to other countries and stuff?
Yes, when I visit a country, first thing is I research what kind of museums they have,
Hmm.
and then immediately go to all the museums. Yeah, I have a master's degree in history, so of course history is my big passion.
Hmm. See, that's one thing that I was again. I keep going back to my friend from Sweden, but when she was here visiting, and I was like, "Hey, would you like to go to Appomattox, where the Appomattox courthouse is, where they ended the Civil War? They signed up." She's like, "I have no interest in that." She's like, "If you went to Sweden, would you want to go to historical places?" Like, heck yeah, I would. I would love to find out that past histories and stuff. So going to museums to me is awesome.
Yeah, but do you know the history? Do you know the difference between the U.S. and yogurt?
Mm,
Yogurt.
no.
If you leave yogurt alone for 200 years, it grows a culture.
Touche. So what's your favorite museum you've been to?
The favorite museum is the British Museum
Really?
because, like I said, the UK stole so many treasures from Africa, from Asia,
Mm-hmm.
uh, also from other European countries. So you
Mm-hmm.
have everything in there. You have Persian temples in there, like a whole fucking temple rebuilt.
Wow.
They took everything that wasn't nailed to the ground in Egypt. So you really, it's like you at one place you're getting the treasure of so many cultures. One could say, oh, they stole it, it's so evil. But actually, when you see what's going on in these places, they saved a lot of this stuff, which
Wow.
would be probably destroyed now if they wouldn't have borrowed it.
It's funny you were saying that. I never would have thought about that. Wow. Man, because like you said earlier, is that England has basically owned, basically countries all over the
Yeah,
world.
half the world, yeah.
I
And
mean,
also, I mean, also here in Austria, in Vienna, the museums, we have a huge treasury from Mexico.
mhm,
Because it goes back to the early modern history when the Habsburg Empire was not only the German part of Europe but also Spain. So and when Spain had the conquistador and conquered Mesoamerica and Southern America,
mhm,
then then also a lot of treasures went to the German part of the Habsburg Empire. And
mhm.
also later, Maximilian the First was very shortly the Emperor of Mexico before the revolution killed him.
Wow. Because when you first said it, they had stuff from Mexico. It's like, now how did they make that connection? It's like, that's right, the Spanish conquistadors. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to go to a place like, because my first thought was the Louvre, but I mean, so much art there that I'm an art guy. That's
Mhm.
why I really love comic books. That was my first passion for comics, is just the art of them. And then you open up, there's more.
I remember once I applied for the Modern Art Museum in Graz, and I was there at the job interview, and then they asked me, "Is like, oh, what are your favorite contemporary artists? Frank Frazetta, Boris Vallejo."
They're like, no. Now, do art museums, do they frown upon comic art?
Yes, let's just say that most of the art museums here are the worst mixture: snobbish communists. Like a total contradiction by itself, but it's really like that the left feels so elite in their perception of art and therefore becoming the exact thing what they hate, like the bourgeoisie. it's,
Yeah.
it's, it's crazy.
Is it because it's funny when I hear people talking about art and stuff, and they're I was like, yeah, have you seen like the cover? Let's just say this, for example. I just happen to have this right here, this Michael Turner. They're like, that's not art. Like, yeah, it's
it,
definitely
it
art.
yeah, it's and especially by people that defend that like that stapled trash is art. It's the same in the movie industry. I'm writing movie reviews,
Hmm.
and so I have some connection also with film journalists in Austria. And we also have before the lockdown, we met every week and talked about movies. And one friend of mine who is like he's very huge in the Austrian movie industry. He told me about when he talked with a young German movie like a movie critic, about a French director. I forget the name of the director, but it's a very independent artist director. And the arrogant movie critic, oh yeah, he loves this French director so much for his art. He's not like this bullshit like all these popular movies, etc. And then he said, "Do you know what's the favorite movie of this French director?" He's like, "No, what is it? RoboCop."
When you say it that way, because I was talking to a couple years ago, one of my friends that's an actress. She's been on the podcast a couple times. We were doing our Oscar previews and who we thought would win. And I was like, how come there are never any comic book movies nominated? She goes, oh, those are just popcorn movies. They ain't even real movies. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's like that's a problem with a lot of these like arrogant, snobbish art people is that they have such a low self-esteem complex. They can only feel superior by making other art styles inferior.
Yeah.
So when you actually talk with a director or any sort of person in arts and culture that has a little bit of self-esteem, none of those people are afraid to say, "Oh, I love these movies. I love pop culture."
Mm-hmm.
And some of the most creative people were inspired also by reading comics.
Like, what's that guy's name? Bill Maher. When Stan Lee passed away, he's like, "What are these adults still reading comic books? Like, have you read a comic book, dude?" And just acting like Stan Lee was just some schmuck that no one ever's heard of. I was like, this. It's like, dude.
Like I say, I'm not attacking these people because they have a very miserable life if they only can get a hard on when they can put other people down.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree. It's crazy to me that like there's an industry out there. I mean, it's like poetry. I'm not big in poetry, but I can appreciate someone, say like Maya Angelou, just a great poet. Edgar Allan Poe back in the day.
Also with it's even like with music. Like I love metal.
Mm-hmm.
I can also appreciate music from other genres. I wouldn't listen to it, but I can appreciate its art, and it's good that it exists because it gives some people something.
Right. Like country music, I can't listen to country music. That's brutal to me.
Yeah.
But my mom loves it. I'm like, hey, good enough for me.
It is the same with movies. There are like some critically acclaimed movies that I can't watch because I'm bored.
Yeah.
Like I can't watch Silent of the Lambs. It's boring. There's no supernatural aspect to it and no science fiction aspect. Is it a fantastic movie with a fantastic acting, fantastic production, everything? Yes, but it's boring for me.
All right, you've said sci-fi multiple times. I've got to know, Star Wars or Star Trek? Both is a legitimate answer as well.
I honestly think that Star Trek. I mean, first of all, Star Wars is not science fiction. Star Wars is space fantasy.
Okay.
You only have a science fiction aspect in Star Wars in Rogue One because of the construction of the Death Star. There's a science fiction aspect to it, and of course in some novels. But from the Star Wars movies themselves, they're fantasy movies. And while Star Trek, it's just a funny thing. I enjoy reading. Back in the days, Disney totally destroyed Star Wars for me. After Rogue One, I love Rogue One, but I absolutely despise the sequels.
For me, the prequels and the sequels, but yeah.
Yeah, it's. I enjoy the world of Star Wars more. For like, I love the Empire. The Empire for me is Grand Admiral Thrawn, Grand Apple Front, Grand Moff Tarkin, Director Krennic, characters I absolutely love. But if you would ask me where I want to live, I actually think I absolutely love the world of Star Trek. I love the concept of Star Trek. Because the beautiful thing about it is that Star Trek was created with such a pureness and such a goodness of heart that Star Trek embodies everything what humanity could be.
Yep.
And therefore, I always say, and this is a quote by me, for me, by the way, is I always say that Star Trek is what we should do, but Starship Troopers is the best we can do.
Starship Troopers, gosh.
Yeah, and I think that the world presented by Heinlein in Starship Troopers in the novel is a way more realistic approach of a science fiction society than Star Trek, because sadly the one thing that keeps us from the idealistic world of Star Trek is people. Because you can't, people always have to fuck things up.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And I would love to live in the world of Star Trek, because this is also why I really dislike when in modern Star Trek they cover topics like racism, etc. It's like this has no place in Star Trek, because Star Trek has overcome this bullshit already in the past.
Yep.
Like, this was in the past. This is what has been overcome. Star Trek, this world is past that.
Yep. That's one thing I loved about Star Trek back in the when I was young, and I would watch Star Trek, and I was like, I mean, like, every race is right there, and they have prominent roles, and it's not like Star Wars. It's all white basically.
Yeah, and then also Star Trek. It's the beautiful thing is they don't need to talk about it, because they have already reached. They already have reached this place where even nobody has to mention the word race at all. But coming back to the question, when you ask me Star Wars or Star Trek, I say Babylon 5.
What's that?
Babylon 5.
Babylon 5. Okay. Gosh, I've never watched that.
The best science fiction series of all time. It basically created the concept of having a coherent storytelling over all the seasons. With Babylon 5, is you really have to watch every episode in order, or you are completely lost.
Babylon 5. All right.
Yeah.
It's on the list.
It's like the special effects are very, very, very dated early CGI. But the storytelling by Straczynski it's great. And of course, Straczynski, because we already mentioned SpiderMan.
Nice. I'm gonna look that up. I've seen it on stuff many times. I was like, yeah, I'll get to that eventually. So now you've actually come out and said you need to watch it. Gonna watch it. All right.
Yeah.
Man, it's funny when I do these. I always get stuff to watch or to read, and I'm just like, gosh, I got a long list of stuff. I've been slowly catching up on some of them, but yeah.
But as a fun thing is, like, as much as I love the concept of Star Trek, actually, I only watch the Star Trek movies. Yeah, my girlfriend is the big Star Trek fan. Like, she's also loving the current IDW, the Year 5 run. And she's watching all the Star Trek.
Yeah, Big Will. He's somebody that's gone through, I think, just about the entire everything of Star Trek. It's like, golly, there's so much stuff to watch with Star Trek. So many seasons.
And this is, I'm already reading comics, I'm reading novels, I'm watching movies. I have almost no time to watch any sort of TV series format. And when I watch TV series, I watched all the stuff I've already seen just again, like Arrested Development, Married with Children, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, I love
It's
that show.
yeah, it's for TV series. I really prefer either the comedy format or really like a series that has only a few seasons. Like my favorite series of all time is Rome.
I've never watched that.
It's fantastic. It has 2 seasons, and it covers like the rise of Caesar, the fall of Caesar, and then the rise of Augustus.
See, I watched Spartacus. I thought that was absolutely amazing.
I don't like.
Well, let me rephrase that. The first season.
I'm not a big fan of Spartacus
Mhm.
because I'm a huge fan of the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire is basically the bad guy in the series. So I'm like, I don't like the way the Roman Empire is portrayed.
I gotta look that up too. Rome. Gosh, that's added to the list.
Yeah.
That's why I love doing these now, because I get to meet people, I get to talk to people, and I get to learn their stuff that I need to look into. That's what I love
Yeah,
doing.
Grayman, yes, with Ray Stevenson as Titus Pullo.
With the Punisher actor.
Yes, Ray Stevenson from Punisher Warzone. He's playing one of the main actors, the Legionnaire Titus Pullo. And he has one of my favorite quotes from the series when he describes a woman wet as October.
The Romans were the bad guys, I swear.
Yeah.
They built that sweet Colosseum. Leave them alone.
Without the Romans, you would have even less genes on your island.
Let's see. How did you and Puff start doing the movies podcast?
I was basically I was just doing scripted videos at a point, and everybody says like I should do a live show. So with the 35th anniversary of Red Sonja, I was just asking around. I was asking Sean, "Hey, do you want to do like a stream together for the anniversary?" And then we did 1 week later one for the anniversary of Conan the Destroyer. And so the whole thing started, and we had so much fun that we just, let's make it a weekly thing on Friday.
That's how I started doing my original podcast. It was
Lehman? The aqueduct. The wine, and women can finally go on the streets. It's from Monty Python, Life of Brian. What have the Romans never done for us?
It's been a while since I've seen that. That was really fun. I like the
Monty
other
Python.
one.
You have to hand it to the British. Before BBC totally destroyed itself, they actually had really fantastic humor. Especially,
I did
Monty
like the
Python.
IT crowd on that. I always thought that was hilarious.
IT crowd was really good, and also before he went to Doctor Who, Stephen Moffat, Coupling, fantastic series.
Gosh, I doubt that's going to be on anything that I've got.
And you have to watch Horrible Histories.
Horrible History.
Horrible Histories. It's fantastic. And they also did the same crew that did Horrible Histories. Also later did a fantasy show, and then later on a ghost show. And these are hilarious. These people.
There you go. There we go. I'm learning. And that's what it's about.
Yeah, and of course you also have to watch everything that the Monty Python guys are in, like Jabberwocky, fantastic. I mean, Terry Gilliam movies, 12 Monkeys, classic, Brazil, and Epic Mindfuck. And I just recently rewatched Terry Jones also said he passed away a while ago, Eric the Viking.
Eric the Viking. Now, what was that? Well, I mean, obviously it's about Eric the Viking, but I mean, explain it to me.
It's it's a comedy about Eric the Viking who's trying to find new land,
Mm-hmm.
and like the city of to Hyboria, and it's about the epic travels to find the gods.
Man, this week's gonna be busy for me. I'll be looking up all kinds of stuff this week. Good day. I've got Loaded Weapon, Babylon 5, Rome, Horrible History, Eric the Viking so far written down.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a fun week.
Good. You have assignments.
Yeah.
Hey, Gabby is in the chat. Hey.
Hey, Gabby, how are you doing?
The creative part of our YouTube comic book community.
Amazing, absolutely amazing artwork.
Yeah.
Oh, my glasses are dirty. Gosh, that's all I've got written down. What else you got?
I'm a boring guy.
You've got a He-Man shirt on, Master of the Universe. You are not a boring human being.
He-Man. It's a classic.
Well, okay, wait a minute. Arnold Schwarzenegger playing He-Man. What do you think? Not now. Obviously, let's go back 20 years.
I think it would totally work out. I mean, Dolph Lundgren was also awesome as He-Man.
Mm-hmm. I hated that they went to modern time. I wish they had just kept it.
It was a budget thing, but actually with Masters of the Universe, with the movie, it's, I really hated this movie as a kid. As a kid, I was like, this is not my He-Man. The older crew is like, I absolutely love this movie.
Really?
It's
they created characters just for the movie.
I also have this wonderful, I think this is the Spanish steelbook.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah. And I also have the Dutch one here.
Wow. Golly, the art on those are amazing.
Beautiful. Yeah, I also collect movies, so that's also where a huge bunch of my money goes.
There for about 10 years or more, I collected DVDs and Blu-ray when they first started coming out. I think I have about 1,600 movies.
Seems about it. I think I recently made a huge cut where I was also like, will I rewatch this? Will I don't rewatch it? The problem is with the movies that I rewatch, I have them in so many versions, and I can't get rid of any of those. It's the same with comics. It's the comics I love. I also try to collect in every way, like Conan the Barbarian 24, the second appearance of Red Sonja and her first cover appearance. I have the Italian version. I have the Spanish version. I have, of course, the US version a few times. I have the British pence variant. I also have the other British reprints in the weekly magazine and the pocket form. And still looking for every other international appearance of that one. So I need sometimes a huge space just for one movie and one comic. Like from Conan the Barbarian, I have also the VHS, the DVD, a lot of Blu-ray.
I know I've got the VHS. I just don't have anything to play it on anymore.
Me neither. I don't have a VHS player, but I'm a sucker for the artwork. It's the same with movies nowadays, especially here. It's also a movie comes out and it has like 4 variant covers.
Wow.
Yeah, like
that surprises me.
Just looking at an example here, but I think I brought most of my books here. Here. Because that's what I want to cover in the future when the new Doctor Strange movie comes out. I want to do a movie stream with Sean about all the Doctor Strange movies. And there's also one movie that is a Doctor Strange movie, but it's not called like that. It's Dr. Mordred. And this is like a media book. Like this is how most movies are released here for the collector's market. You have the movie on Blu-ray and DVD and a booklet with informations, with movie interviews and stuff. And they release these with 4 to 5 covers.
I know there for a little while we were getting stuff like that, but very rarely anymore.
Yeah. And this movie, I mean...
let me zoom in on you right there, because that is beautiful.
This should originally have been a Doctor Strange movie, but the company lost the rights to it, so they just named it differently.
Can you got those Masters of the Universe ones right there with you?
The what?
Those Masters of the Universe. Those that Spanish one and the other one. I've got you big right now because you show those cassettes again, those cases.
I just put them again in the.
I'm sorry. I'm awful.
Yeah, it's beautifully embossed.
Oh, we froze. There we go. That is beautiful. That art.
And also, you have some lobby cards in there.
That's beautiful stuff.
Yes. That's how they can sustain. I'm only showing that one because the other one already put in the bag.
Okay.
Easy to pull it out again. But that's how physical media survives here. It's like with comics. Comics only survives by a few people that spend way too much money on variant covers.
Yeah. I actually thought about opening up a comic shop where I live, and I'm just like, there's just no market. I mean, most of the people now, we're kind of a college town. It's got like 4 colleges.
Yeah, comic books.
Or you go to the old folks, I think it's about 65 and up. It's like a big gap. And the younger people, they just read everything online.
Yes, with comics, I don't think that a physical market will go away as long as we are alive, because as long as they can make money of us, they will make money of us.
Oh, yeah.
No. But for the future, it's like, how many kids do you know that read comics?
Yeah.
And I don't blame the kids at all. It's not their fault. They grew up with different devices.
Yeah.
And who knows if we would have grown up back in the days with like these devices and there's myriads of ways how you can pass your time.
I mean, if I grew up with an iPod, that's how I would read them. Yeah,
exactly. So it's and I also like with video games. I play video games on the PC. I have all my video games on my Steam account. I have some video games that I care very much about, still on cartridges, but I don't play them. Except for my Mega Drive and Super Nintendo games, I still play them with the cartridge, but I mostly actually play them also over Virtual Console, because I really suck at gaming and I have to really need the rewind version of the remakes.
Man, you mentioned games because I've just started getting back into my vintage gaming.
I know, I love your live streams. They're really good.
I didn't know if anybody did, so I kind of quit doing them for a while. So I'm going to probably start doing them again. But my original NES, I love playing original Nintendo games. I've started going back and buying them.
Yeah, also like from the US, I bought the NES Predator cartridge because the game was not released here. And I love the Predator cover art, of course. I already had to get it. My most lucky find of all times was the Conan Atari game. It was released with Conan around the time with Conan Destroy. It also has the same cover art. I was looking for this fucking game for years. I was not able to find it. I was ready to spend like $200, $300 on it. And then I found it on an online forum from somebody in Vienna that sold it for 20 euros, which is like $25.
Wow. For me, similar story is I was looking for Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I mean, it's common. It's only like a $40 cartridge, and somebody I went into a store and I was going to get it, and then they jacked up the price for no reason. It's like apparently they were having a sale. Someone put it back, and then that person didn't come back, and the price they had on it was no longer the sale price. But anyway, long story short, is my brother knows them and was going over there to see them, and they're like, "Hey, just give this to Daryl." So they gave me the cartridge. I was like, "Save me $40."
It's like with some comics. It's when you look at prices and you're like, actually, it's not an expensive comic, but I can't find it anywhere.
So did you get the box with the game?
Yes, it was. I can show you.
No, I just looked it up. I was like, oh, it's got that artwork on it.
I have to show you.
Oh, that is beautiful. Yeah, that is great.
And everything in there.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Was that floppy disk?
Yeah, it's a.
I was thinking old school, like Atari cartridge, like the 2600.
It's a floppy.
Wow. Boy, do I feel old when I see those. Back in my day, those were cutting edge technology.
Yeah. And ever since, I have never seen that game up again.
Mm-hmm.
It's like also it's a very difficult game to price because you never see it anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It's the same thing with one of my grails, which is the King Conan variant by San Julian.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for this cover for years. That was before I met the comic book community in the US, and in Europe I was riding comic book stores everywhere. Nobody had it. And then I got 2 issues. One was AOK to me by Stone Cold Steve, and one by Magic Lasso. Magic Lasso found one in Australia. He was ordering a Wonder Woman comic from an Australian comic book store, and then he found out they also had the Conan one, so he ordered that with it.
That's awesome. That's what I love about this community. If you're looking for something and they find it, they will either give it to you or give it to you at a great price. And I'm like, that's what I love about the community.
That's the same here. It's when I find there's some books like Steve was looking for the Darth Vader variant, the Italian one that came out in 2015, and he was not able to find it. So I was tracking it down in Italy, and because the Panini itself still had some in their online store, but Panini Italy only sends stuff within Italy. You can't even order there from another European country. So I called a friend of mine in Italy if he can order it for me. And the next time I order like some T-shirts from his store, just to send the comics along with the T-shirts to me, so we can save on shipping.
Wow, that's awesome, man. So I'm looking at this Atari game. I'm like, golly, that cover art is awesome.
It's beautiful. That's like it's a lost art.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Oh, I was looking at like the art on old games like in television, which is a game system that most people have never heard of, but it's the first system that I actually owned. And I remember the box art on them was, it's art. It's not just like a photo of the game or something. It's beautiful.
It's like old movie posters, and it's beautiful. And I really wish we would come back to a place where we can have like retro movie covers. I mean, some movies do it. Kong Skull Island had a beautiful variant movie poster with painted art. I think also, didn't also Logan had like an old school movie poster art version?
I did not know that. I remember just seeing the regular one.
But they mostly will come up when they know there is like a subculture that really trashes it. But I think that going back like to drawn movie posters would elevate, especially people buying movie posters, home media releases way more.
Hmm. I mean, like one of the movie posters I want to get is The Goonies. I love the movie, and I think that that movie poster looks great. Adventures in Babysitting was one. I always thought that was a great
Yeah,
movie
yeah.
poster.
Also, I love movie posters, and I have like an iron rule. I only hang original movie posters in my flat.
Oh,
So
then you can't
movie
come here
posters
because
are
I've got four over there that are not original. No, no, that's not wrong. I've got two over there that's not original. I've got
like this doesn't count. This is like a magnetic wall, but on the walls, I
mhm.
have a Red Sonja original poster. I have original Conan the Barbarian German poster, and I really want to have like a piece of history that really was in the cinema when the movie came out.
Mhm.
That's
Some of
why I'm
my,
not buying any reprints of posters.
I've got Rambo and Cloverfield over there. Those were original movie posters.
Oh, Rambo is of course brilliant.
Yeah, and
I also think that the first Rambo is one of the. I wouldn't even count it as an action movie. I think it's one of the most underrated drama movies.
you mean First Blood?
Yeah, First Blood. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That to me was, I mean, it was not only was a good action movie, but like you're saying, great storytelling behind it.
Yes, and a lot of people are really underestimating Sylvester Stallone as a writer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, didn't he write all of the? Well, not all, at least Rocky one. I know he did. But did he do all of them?
I don't know with the later ones, but I think yeah, but yes, Rocky One he wrote.
Hmm.
And what are I'm of course like Arnold. Arnold is my I'm a big Arnold fan. Arnold is my favorite actor.
Hmm.
But I think that Sylvester Stallone cares more about his characters than Arnold does.
I think he puts more into them though. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like you would never see Rocky or Rambo, especially now since Stallone has more creative control over his characters,
Hmm.
would go into a direction like the Terminator did.
Versus Terminator. That would be awesome. Or wait, what was Arnold's name in The Predator?
Dutch Schaefer.
Yeah, Dutch. Yeah, Rambo versus Dutch.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be fun. Get
I
the
know when I worked at the museum and I also did the social media for the museum. There were people like tweeting at me and asked me did they want to have a solution who would win, John Matrix or Dutch Schaefer in a fight for Commando or Predator.
yeah.
I think it's a very easy outcome. Matrix would win because
Elaborate.
Matrix has a lot to fight for.
Mhm.
And I think this would give him the edge over Dutch. And if it would be a fight to the death, I also think that Dutch would take the sacrifice because he has basically nothing to lose.
Yeah. Hmm.
I mean, in the comics, he has a brother, but no, he has not a family of his own. And John has something to fight for
Yeah.
and to
Alyssa
live for.
Milano.
Yeah.
Alyssa Milano, his daughter. Yeah. That's a good point. That is a very, very good point. Yeah. I never thought about it that way, but that's a good point. I mean, now I'm thinking about Predator. I'm just like, get to the chopper.
Get to the chopper. Predator is the gold standard of action movies.
I think so. I mean, I think that movie is magnificent. I mean, I
Yeah.
think the cast in it's really good.
There was
Uh,
always, I only have one complaint about Predator, and it's a very nitpicky one.
mhm.
I think they shouldn't have shown the Predator ship in the beginning.
Really?
Yes, the first time I watched Predator, I was tuning in a little bit late on TV, so I only see was shortly in before the epic handshake. You son of a bitch.
Hmm.
Uh, and I had no idea that there was an alien ship. So for me, it was like an awesome action movie. And then suddenly a predator came. It's like it gets even better. And this is the rule. Yeah, this is also the rule of xenomorphs and predators. You don't do a xenomorph or predator movie. You're doing a movie of any genre that is a good movie by its own, and you put a xenomorph or predator in it, and the movie becomes better.
Right.
It's the same with the comic book crossovers. Why so many crossovers of popular characters with predator or aliens are so popular? It's because they're the perfect characters. Exactly, Archie versus Predator. Because they're the perfect characters for crossover. Because you can kill them.
Right.
These characters don't lose cred if you kill them. While when DC and Marvel does a crossover, you have two popular characters. They always fight to a standstill and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the Predator and aliens, like they're there to be beaten. And the first Batman versus Predator is such a phenomenal crossover. Exactly, or like a period drama with Predator. I never get why they didn't do a Predator movie at any point in history.
Yeah.
Like think about Napoleonic Wars and you add a Predator into the mix.
I was just thinking like in Japan, back centuries. I was like, how cool would that be?
Or think about Ridley Scott's Gladiator, and he has to fight an Predator instead of Sven Ole Thorsen in the arena.
I totally agree with that. The later Rambo's cheapened the first movie's message. Totally agree.
I think 2 and 3, of course, are very action-driven and blockbuster-ish.
Mm-hmm.
But I think especially Rambo 4 and 5, going more back to the original message.
Mm-hmm.
Like the 4th one in Burma is a very underrated movie. And I also think that the Last Blood one, it's a brilliant movie.
I have actually not seen the last one. I've got to see that one.
Yeah.
But the one before that, I thought was a great movie, and the violence in it was insane.
And it's also like the violence in there. It was really like a showstopper, and it really totally went with the message of the movie.
Yeah.
And you really wanted to see those guys punished.
Rambo versus Punisher.
I don't think they would fight.
It's just like crossover movies. I'm just thinking about things that would be fun to see.
I think that it would be the same with Rambo versus the Punisher, like with Captain America, where the Punisher would be just, you're my hero, I don't fight against you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Last Blood was a good movie. It was also, I always love the movies where you really want to get the bad guys done. And Last Blood is also something, it's also something that has a universal message of people that do stuff that is irredeemable.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Now I'm thinking about it when you just said it that way. I was like, you know what? I did see that movie, and it was really good.
Yeah. And this is also what I really don't like with PC culture and modern movies, is when you have to water down villains because they could offend somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about, me and some of my friends were talking about this one day. There's so many things out there, old movies, old TV shows, like, well, you can't make those anymore. So it's sad.
Yeah, and it's like a villain is a villain for a reason. He's the antagonist. You're usually not rooting for the villain.
Right. I mean, example, had just talked about Gone with the Wind, talking about banning Gone with the Wind. I'm like, what? It's considered one of the most epic movies of all time.
Yeah. you
and the
can
amount of
add
money
like,
put in that at the
yeah,
time.
I would say you can add a disclaimer. You can
Yeah,
add like
totally.
additional context to the movie, like this movie was created in this period. This was at that point. I think Warner Brothers did it very well with Whoopi Goldberg,
Hmm.
and she's talking in before the old cartoons, about the history, how they were made. Like it was wrong then, it was wrong now, but it is how it is and how those were created.
Right. Right. I mean, it's crazy how, I mean, to me, on one hand, we've positively changed away from that, but at the same time, it's like, don't delete it. 'Cause if you delete
Yeah,
it,
like
it's gonna come back. I mean, just like with many other things.
I mean, at one point, everything will come back. It's like
Yeah.
not in the same form. I mean, it always depends, of course, on the historic point of view. You have like three different models of historic theory. That one say it's like there's a beginning and there's an end.
Hmm.
Another say it's all in cycles. It's always like the rise and the fall of an empire.
Hmm.
So and then it repeats again. And the other one is like the anarchy. The anarchische, like the anarchic or anarchy theory that shit happens, like random.
Yeah.
But especially with these things, and humans are way more limited in their behavior than they think there are. There is a wonderful, there's like by Dane Ariely, a wonderful book. I forgot the English title. The German title would be translated as like thinking is nice, but it doesn't help. Uh, and there's also about that humans are not so complex. We are very basic and we are very influenced by the same things over and over again. And I
Yep.
think this also shows in this pandemic that people act as stupid as they acted similar in pandemics in the past. And this shit won't change
Yep.
because there's a limitation to humans, and therefore we are sort of doomed to fall into the same traps over and over again. I know it's a very pessimistic view on history, but there's not a lot of positive examples from history
Yeah.
that would prove me wrong. Like I always say to people, it's like I hate to be right. Like I hate to be that this is an valid theory. Like I said, I would want to have the future of Star Trek.
Yeah.
But I only think that I only think that like you can only keep humans like tame. But the moment you unleash humans, it's it is what it is today.
Well, it's funny you say that way, but and I can put that into comic book context. Is I do believe that the comic books are secular as well, and
It
I
is like
do believe they go up, and I believe they will come back down.
yeah, and it's also with the characters.
Mhm.
You know, sadly, it's also with the comic community. There's so much hatred and toxic behavior from
Mhm.
everybody.
Mhm.
It's what I mean. I can understand that people say, "Oh no, they changed my character. It's the end of the world."
Yeah.
It isn't. It's characters change, and at one point they will come back to that point where they started and be like the classic version again. It's
Mhm.
the same with Conan. There are so many Conan books at Marvel that where I say it's like they're not good. Like the Battle for the Serpent Crown was horrendous, or like the Age of Conan books of Belith and Valeria were done by creators that had uh, that shouldn't have written anything in the Hyborian Age because they didn't get the world because they mistook it for Lord of the Rings. Uh, but you know, at the end of the day, I have my ongoing Conan book. I have Conan books for 50-year-old Conan books in comics. I have
Mhm.
so much to read for a lifetime. I take every new good Conan book as a gift.
Right.
And if they do like a Conan title that is bad, I don't have to buy it. I think a lot of people in the comic book collecting have fallen into the trap of believing that they have to have every comic of the character they want.
I stopped buying Batman after issue
Yeah.
50
Yeah.
because I was just so
Yeah.
mad.
You have to free yourself like from
Yeah.
the you can never, maybe if you're a billionaire with Batman, you can have every Batman book. But if you
Oh,
have to,
I
like, if
wish.
you just have a moderate budget or if you're just slightly rich,
Mm.
is only spend your money on the books that you like.
I have
Uh,
Batman one.
it still counts. It tells the same story.
Exactly.
um, yeah, it's a don't feel forced that you have to buy every
Right.
book of a character only because it's a character you love.
Yeah.
Like there's Red Sonja books that I'm not picking up. I'm not buying the new Sonja Virtual book that came out because I think I think that the premise is stupid.
What about
I
like
don't need
that
I don't
one?
need a
What was it?
multiverse of Sonias. I don't need a Mecha Sonya. I don't need a T-Rex Sonya. I think this goes way too far away from what the Red Sonja is.
Mhm.
But do I say, oh no, the world is ending because there's a Red Sonja title that is not catered to me? No. I can say it's like, thankfully I don't have to spend money on that.
What about what was it? Was it Vampirella and Red Sonja meet Betty and Veronica?
I haven't read that one. I think I have 3 books because I really love the covers of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't have a problem spending then €4 because I like a cover.
Mm-hmm.
I just see it's an art purchase, but
I just
that
when I
was
first heard that, I'm in my mind, I'm thinking that would take some of the people that like Vampirella or Red Sonja and say, you know what, you're going too far with it.
yeah. But also on the other hand, is like as long as they leave in my ongoing Red Sonja title,
I'm right there with
I
you,
have
Green Man.
no problem with I have no problem with the experience in other titles.
Mm-hmm.
If it would be in the ongoing, I would, of course, I would tweet and write dynamite like like that. I'm not on board with this.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody likes it, more power to them.
Right.
But I will raise my voice to dynamite because actually dynamite reads my posts. So
That
just
would
to let them know, okay, maybe the CEO, the core audience is not happy with that, so we're gonna change it in future, like in future issues. But the thing that is, think it's for me most important when you're a comic book collector is that it I would say that that doesn't apply to people who buy it anyway and don't complain and just say, okay, I have the money, I want to have a full collection. But people that get offended and complain that the character was changed, that to them I say, you need to get to a point where you can live with a gap in your collection because this is a period there's a period in their life, the character that is not for you. So you have to live with that this is a gap because you don't want to have these books anyway. And at one point it will come back again
see
to
for
the
me
character that you like.
with that Batman run, I really wanted to change. I wanted to see Batman married for maybe 50 issues, and then have them go, you know, this is I can't be Batman. I wanted him to have a wife at home, not just have an Alfred at home, and to see Batman as a married guy with something to lose if something happens to him,
That
as
would
opposed to like, oh, I can't be Batman. You know what? Just that's what made me mad.
and you would have a lot of people who say this is bullshit. They want their
Yeah.
Batman. And I think this is also the wonderful thing that there is something as alternate realities in comics.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite version of Batman is Batman Beyond.
Yeah, I love the cartoons or the
Yeah,
animated
because
series.
I
Excuse
also
me.
really love I also really love about it that it really shows an older Bruce Wayne at
Yeah.
the end of his story.
Mm-hmm. And that's the first time I saw Terry McGinnis. It was when I was watched the animated series. I was like, I'm gonna give this a shot. I got nothing else to do, and I was like, I got sucked into that show. Thought it was
Yeah, it is really
great.
good. This is why I also say that if there's new stuff, at least give it a chance. If you don't
Mhm.
like it, there's nothing wrong with disliking things.
Yeah,
Just don't ruin it for others.
I'm very good at disliking things.
Yeah, you know, I hate a lot of things. I dislike a lot of things. I despise a lot of things. But nobody's forcing me to consume them.
Yeah, one of the things that I really despise is when someone will watch a movie, they know it's absolutely terrible, but yet they will find a way to say something good about it. I'm like, what are you telling me? How can you say that's good? It's
This
awful.
is this is actually very human. If you read the works of Cialdini, who is a very famous American psychologist and wrote several books about persuasion, and he wrote a chapter about how humans, when they buy like a ticket for something, when they buy a book, the initial reaction of a human is to argue about that their worldview is coherent and that they didn't make a mistake, so they try to talk it good for themselves, so that their initial reaction or their initial action of paying money for it or wasting time or spending time with it doesn't seem like a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a very human. Also, like I said, humans are not that complex. There's like a few things that humans do over and over again, and this is one of these cases where people like stuff just to be coherent in their worldview. And I'm not faulting these people. It's their right to do so.
It's
There's stuff
funny.
in there that
I'm the exact opposite. If I see something bad in a movie, I'll tell the world about it.
that's also fair. Like I said, there is no wrong approach. The only wrong approach is if you basically tell another person how they have to perceive it.
Oh, they gotta agree with me. Just kidding. I mean, I'll give you an example. For me, like the Batman, was it Batman, right? The Dark Knight Rises. I mean, from the very beginning scene, I'm like, this movie's going to be awful. Like you got the three guys, with hoods over their head. You're looking for somebody, but you don't actually take the hoods off to see if they're sitting right there in front of you.
What makes you so good?
I'm just like, and then you got Sean Connery voicing Bane. Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, I totally get it. I totally get it. But it's also, in the end of the day, does it really matter?
it makes me feel better. It doesn't.
It's like,
But no, I totally see what you're saying. Yeah, but yeah,
yeah, I mean,
but
there's so many mistakes in this movie, like technical mistakes, and I'm not a big fan of how they built up Bane, and in the end, he was just like a lackey acting out of emotions. Like for some reason, they can never get Bane right in a movie,
yeah,
but
yeah. I
but
mean
but
that, and I'm just like, how can you even look at Bane as being a bad guy when he's just Talia's lackey over here?
but also you have to say this is its own universe.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of. I don't like Nolan as a director. There's not one single Nolan movie that did anything for me.
really.
Memento is not for me. Then I think that Inception is the most overrated movie ever done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm not a fan of his portrayal of Batman because it's way too down to earth. I like it fantastic. I love Golden Age Batman. I love to have vampires in Batman stories.
Look, poor Mike.
Hey, poor Mike. So from the first moment on, I knew okay, these movies are not catered to me. I'm not the target audience for these movies. So I'm not really invested in them.
Mm-hmm.
But I totally accept if people love them. When somebody says, "Oh, The Dark Knight is his favorite comic book movie," then I can totally accept it from their point of view. Yeah, if you like that world, this movie must be a masterpiece for you. But if you like to have a more fantastic world where there is magic in the DC universe, where there are really science fiction concepts, then of course this movie is like a very watered down version of Batman. But it's the world, and this is also why I think that comic book fans have more often not a problem when movies deviate from the books than regular folks do, because regular folks that don't read the comics and just know that one Batman version from the moment they grew up, for them it's like, this is not the Batman I grew up with. But if you really are into the concept of the multiverse, then you're watching it and saying, yes, it's a different part of the multiverse. It's the same with Batman v Superman. I'm one of the few people who really like the Batman v Superman, the director's cut. Is it a coherent mess in terms of storytelling? Absolutely. The movie makes no sense in terms of storytelling, but it's a visual masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Like Snyder, when he does something visually, it's mesmerizing. And in terms of visual storytelling, I absolutely love Batman v Superman. Do the characters act like very much like Miller-esque, like how Snyder loves his Batman or DC characters? Of course they do. But this movie doesn't interfere with Earth Zero. Or with Prime Earth.
The biggest problem I had with that movie was toward the end, how they kind of teased the Justice League characters. And to me, they had that one spot is like they should have brought in Aquaman is when Lois was about drowning. I was like, there's your spot for Aquaman right there.
I think that would have been too much. I already think it was too much to introduce Darkseid and the death of Superman so early in the franchise.
Yeah.
But
and I didn't like Batman hiding behind that barrier while Wonder Woman and Superman was fighting.
Actually, that was something I really liked because it showed that Batman is smart.
yeah, that's a legitimate point. Yeah,
and he knows his limits as a human being. It's like I am standing here amidst God.
and
I'm holding up very well, and I want to get out alive.
You know what? Now that you say it that way, it actually became a better movie.
Yeah. And even the moment that everybody criticizes, like the Martha scene, it's like if he would just change Martha to Mother, the scene would be immediately great because the concept behind it, that Batman realizes also Superman has a mother, immediately makes it more relatable for Batman to not, he has a mother, he also has something to care for. He's not an alien that is just acting out of arrogance or just can he do something. He has also something he cares about. And the concept of a mother, especially for a man, is something very powerful.
Yep.
So this would actually, like, the concept behind this scene is awesome, but the way they make it, like with Martha, it's just like it's bad writing.
I know when I first heard that, when I was watching, I was like, Martha, and then it took me a couple of seconds to realize, wait a minute, they both have the same mom's name.
Yeah, that's also when I realized
about that. All these years of reading comics, never even thought about it.
I was 2 years old. Yeah, but it's also funny when I talk with people about comic book movies, especially with fans of the MCU, because I absolutely dislike the MCU. I don't like the humor. I don't like how they really
the humor. Thor Ragnarok, I cannot watch.
I absolutely if there's one movie that I want to have erased from history, it's Thor Ragnarok. Like if somebody likes it, it's okay if you like it. it's like if you like the parody of Thor, okay, then it's more power to you. But if
Hmm.
you really care about Thor, this movie ridicules him. This movie ridicules the whole legacy of Thor. When
Yep.
you read the early Journey to Mystery comics, of course they were corny and everything, but these books never laughed about about Thor. Like, but Thor Ragnarok jokes about him, and I think that Taika Waititi is one of the worst directors
Hmm.
because is he talented? Has he some sort of talent? Yes, but he has the wrong approach to making an epic movie like for should be.
Yeah, for me, Thor didn't come out as being cool until the end of was it Endgame?
Uh, in Infinity War, 4 was very well written.
When he was
Endgame
coming
not.
down with the hammer, the
That
light
was in
coming.
Infinity War is actually Infinity War. I think is one of my top three movies in the
Hmm.
MCU because it has this epicness. You have these. It really pays tribute to Kirby, like
Yep.
in the Forge and everything. It's really and it's epic and it doesn't slant everything with this stupid Whedon-esque humor.
Right. And
And
that's
it's
why I
always so funny
love that movie.
when I discuss with people and I say like Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance is better than 90% of the MCU movies, in my opinion. I absolutely love Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, the second one.
Hmm.
Everybody say it's cheap, but it's so gritty and dirty. It really celebrates the horror aspect of Johnny Cage and the Ghost Rider history. And also, I really liked that they shot it in Europe. I think that's something that a lot of Americans criticize. That it's like not in a city and it's like basically like an shot on the Balkan, but I truly like it, and I also like it has more supernatural aspects to it. And it's a chase movie from beginning to end. There is no length in it. It's just one epic ride from beginning to end, and it has such a cool cinematography, like the way the Ghost Rider is moving distorted. It really captures it really captures what I pictured the Ghost Rider moving when I read the comics as a kid.
Hmm.
And the same thing, like I absolutely like the Man Thing movie. The Man Thing movie is it's a really nice horror movie,
It's been
rated
forever since
R.
I've seen Man Thing, so I don't remember that one.
Was a shot for TV, but I think it was it by a New Zealand company or something.
Oh, have
But
I have I ever seen that? Now that I'm thinking about it,
I
I may not
recommend it.
have
It's a
seen it.
nice horror movie. It's a really nice horror movie. You have boobs in it. You have gore in it.
I'm writing that down too.
Oh, even like Red Brown Captain America. It's entertaining. Even though I have to say that Winter Soldier is a fantastic movie. It's a great spy movie by
That to
itself.
me is probably my second favorite, or maybe third favorite Marvel movie.
Yeah, this was actually the moment when I gave the MCU another chance after I
Hmm.
watched Winter Soldier because I thought, okay, now they're really trying to making more quality movies and really bringing other genre concepts within superheroes. It's always so funny when people say it's like, oh, they don't like the genre of superhero movies. There is no genre of superhero movies. Superheroes can be set in every genre. Look, Logan. Logan is a modern a western.
Yeah.
Logan, absolutely, Logan is a spaghetti western in a modern, with a modern touch.
Yep. It's like the old gunfighter is going down at the end.
Yeah,
And
and this is yeah. So it's like this is also why comic book movies, except if they only copy the Marvel formula until it gets boring for the mainstream. For me, it got boring already with the Avengers.
mhm.
But
I would
like
like an X-23 movie with the same girl that was in
she
Logan.
was fantastic.
I thought that was
fantastic.
amazing.
It was so good. Uh, and like with comic book movies, like they can go on forever. You just have to set it in different genres
Hmm.
to keep it interesting. Like it's not like the Western or sword and sorcery that have a certain lifespan for the mainstream audience.
Hmm.
But with comic book characters, it's like the possibilities are limitless. Like with most of the cosmic Marvel, you can tell epic science fiction tales. You can tell space operas. Like
Hmm.
even without this genre, you have so many subgenres to visit, like Silver Surfer, Galactus. This whole thing, it's you
Well,
could
now
do
that they're
so.
bringing the Fantastic Four over to MCU, I am hoping for a great Silver Surfer movie. Yeah, just a space brilliant movie. I'm hoping they do that.
I have to say that I like the original Fantastic Four movies for what they are.
Hmm.
And I
Actually,
think they're better. I think that they're better than most of the MCU stuff. Do they have corny humor? Yes,
mhm.
but the family aspect in these movies is so well done. You really feel them as a family working together, and the family aspect is the most important stuff about Marvel's first family.
I gosh, what was
Oh
that?
yeah, I know that was also this powerful scene, especially when Professor X had his seizure and everything was frozen in time, and Logan killed the guy who he was, he's seen coming, but he wasn't able to move. That was a very gruesome scene.
Mhm.
But I also really liked that they showed this because, you know, Logan is no goody goody guy. He's an anti hero.
Yep.
And this portrayal really fits the character.
Oh yeah, I was going to mention the Fantastic Four. Have you seen the Roger Corman Fantastic Four?
Yes, and I think that was a good one.
I thought it was a very good movie.
Yes,
I mean, if
like
they
the
had
costumes were
the,
on point, and
if
I love
they
the
had
Doctor
just got
Doom.
a little post production into it. I mean, okay, the last scene, where they get in the limousine in the wedding, and you got those floppy arms.
Yeah,
That was not good.
I know, but Roger Corman makes everything at least entertaining.
But I really enjoyed that movie.
Mm. I know it's a pity that they leave it like in the bin, and they also have the '70s Doctor Strange movie.
I have not seen that one.
I also have that one.
The now the okay the German legend David Hasselhoff when he played Nick Fury. I'm sorry, but that was
Awesome.
not good. That was not a good movie.
I liked it.
Well, he is a German legend.
Yeah.
I do
It's like
not.
I would lose my citizenship if I would say anything bad about him. Oh,
That's true.
yeah.
Big Remo, what is going on, my
Hey,
friend?
people! This is one of my most favorite scene in dodgeballs. Dodgeball.
What scene?
With the German team Blitzkrieg, where Hasselhoff is the coach.
Yeah,
Eins, zwei, drei, Hasselhoff!
it's funny to me. I mean, over here it's like David Hasselhoff is big in Germany. He's like,
He still sells out here. People in their 20s and teenagers, everybody loves Hasselhoff. Like, even people that didn't grow up with him. It's just, there's something about him. if Hasselhoff would announce would run for president in Germany, Austria, he would win by a landslide. I'm not joking here.
it blows my mind. It blows my mind.
I grew up before I had history class. I grew up in the certain belief that David Hasselhoff was the reason that the Berlin Wall fell.
Oh my God.
You
Okay,
know,
okay.
he was
Hasselhoff.
looking for freedom and
All right, German. Was it prime minister of Germany? What is the? Is it a president in Germany?
You have a president, like presidents are way more limited here in Europe, and the prime minister has more power. So basically, here in Austria, the president is basically very much just representational.
Mhm.
The president only in a wartime he would be the leader of the military.
All right, Hasselhoff versus Schwarzenegger.
That would be an epic. I think David Hasselhoff would win. Like here, like for votes.
Civil War
Actually,
breaks out.
no, Arnold is not that popular in Austria.
Really?
Yeah, it's really not that popular. It's a fun thing. It's like
That baffles me.
me too. BFF.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ralf Möller was in BFest.
What was that? There's a ping pong movie I thought was really, really great. I can't remember the name of the ping pong movie. But it seemed like it was similar to Beer Fest.
Yeah, probably.
But wow, I mean, my mind just got blown there because I thought people would be like, "Do I vote for Schwarzenegger or Hasselhoff?" It's like, no, just Dave. Just vote for David. Like, wow.
Not just him. It's like really, it's Arnold is way more popular in Hungary, in Russia, and of course in the US. Actually, Arnold is very niche in Austria.
Blows my mind. Blows my mind.
Oh yeah, Baywatch was so huge. Also Knight Rider.
I love Knight Rider to this day. I didn't like the sequels that came later, like Knight Rider 2000 and stuff like that. But that original show, loved it.
And of course, Baywatch Nights.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the slow motion scenes of women jogging. It's classic. It's classic.
And of course, one of the best Baywatch episodes ever is with WCW, with the bash at the beach.
Yep.
It's a classic. And of course, you also have Sven-Ole Thorsen, who I talked about earlier, who plays Torgrim in Conan the Barbarian, and is a big friend of Arnold. And he played several roles in Baywatch. He played the Viking that was frozen.
Remo, I was more of an Airwolf fan. It was a good show.
I think that aired here, but was not very popular.
Oh man.
But who was also huge was Richard Dean Anderson as MacGyver.
Oh, I love MacGyver.
Like, yeah. I think the reason why Stargate was also so popular here was because Richard Dean Anderson was in the series.
Does that sound like
Yeah. And they also wanted, like here in Graz, the stadium here was called the Arnold Schwarzenegger Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, they wanted to they rename the stadium. And Arnold said, "Is like he's not into that fucking kindergarten behavior. He revokes the right that they use his name on the stadium."
Wow. Okay, now I understand.
He also sent back his Ring of Honor from the city of Graz. This is still in the safe in the Graz of the mayor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's politics. Like Arnold has a way better communication around Graz with the country of Styria,
Mm-hmm.
like Steiermark, and he has a very troubled relation with the city of Graz.
Wow. I did not know any of this. This is now I know why the Hoff is the man now.
Yeah. This was also a discussion I always had with visitors from the US at the museum when they ask they ask about this thing, with the dual nationality, with the stadium, why doesn't bear his name anymore? And I always had to tell them that politics here are very narrow-minded, especially since they don't realize that Arnold was the governor of California. Of course, here in Austria, we very much oppose death penalty.
Mm-hmm.
But Arnold was the governor of California, not the governor of Austria.
Right.
So he made politics for his state, for his people, and this has nothing to do with Austria. And the the culture of Austria is very different to the culture of California.
The culture of America is very different from the culture of California.
That's also what I heard.
He was a terrible governor. He
Yeah,
wasn't a
it's
governor. He was the governator.
governor.
The governator.
Yeah,
Man, man. So, did you like it when they made the movies where all the '80s action heroes were in one? Why can't I think of the name of the movie?
Expendables.
That's it. I was like Stallone
I
and
I
Arnold.
love the concept.
Mm-hmm.
I I can enjoy the movies, but I'm not a big fan of the execution. My big my big problem with the expendable movies is the cast is amazing,
Yeah,
but Stallone chose the wrong director. He chose, so it's like you have the expendables, you have an old school cast, but you have a modern cinematography. You have shaky cam in there, and you have awful CGI. So they should have gone for practical effects and for a steady cam where you can really see the action. So
hmm,
they feel like modern movies, and that's the problem with that. The cast is awesome, and I can't wait for the new Expendables comic book.
I did not realize there was a comic coming.
It
Oh,
was an Indiegogo campaign, and it's like the Expendables Go to Hell, which was an early script idea by Sylvester Stallone, written by Chuck Dixon,
mm-hmm.
and and the comic will be fulfilled now. It's late. I think it's almost 1 year late,
Hmm.
but hopefully it will be here in the next 2 months.
Well, COVID put everything behind. So, I think the one thing I did not like in those movies was when they had Ronda Rousey in them.
Yes, it's
Not a
like
fan. Not a fan.
we. I mean, I don't have any problems with Ronda Rousey, but I don't want to. I don't watch an expendable movie to see them handle to introduce like a new generation. I want to see the old guys kick ass.
I did like
And
Randy Couture in there.
Randy Couture is like always he fits the role, and of course, yeah,
I mean, when he talks about his ears, that always cracks me up.
yeah. But actually, I think that Arnold is quite weak in the movies.
Yeah.
He was not in any form.
I mean, I've heard that he was in a lot of pain back then, too.
Yeah, it was after his governor term, and let's say he was fat.
Yeah.
And his hair didn't fit at all,
Yeah.
so it was not fit. If you want to watch a bad Expendables movie, you have to watch The Bad Pack
Guess what
with
I'm doing?
Robert Darby, with Robert Darby, with Ralph Möller is in there, and you also have Roddy Piper.
Okay. You sold me with Roddy Piper. They Live is one of my favorite movies.
Roddy Piper is awesome. Also, and the sad thing is, ever since he died, I always feel sad watching his movies. When I did the John Carpenter special with Sean last year for
Mhm.
Halloween, I watched They Live with the audio commentary, and the audio commentary is with Roddy Piper and John Carpenter,
Mhm.
and it was such a fantastic insight into Roddy's mind, and he's so sympathetic, and it's like and it's sad when you're sitting there and you feel like you're watching a movie and you're talking with a dead man.
Mhm. I've never. Gosh, I don't think I've ever watched any movie with audio commentary.
Audio commentaries are fantastic.
Hmm.
You have to watch Total Recall and Conan the Barbarian with audio commentary.
Okay.
Because the wonderful thing about it is that Arnold has no idea how to do an audio commentary. He's basically really just describing what happens on screen. And especially with Total
That
Recall.
just sounds like a comedy of its own.
Yes, and with Total Recall, it's especially great because you have Arnold and Paul Verhoeven.
Mhm.
And Paul Verhoeven always tries to pull Arnold back into in the commentary. So it's fantastic, and of course, also the Conan the Barbarian one it's so funny when you hear the stories of Arnold. It's like, hey, he was also a bodybuilder. It's like, and now he's doing this.
Audio commentary is the best. All right.
Yeah, audio commentary.
I
You
will
can
find some movies and watch. You know, I was just thinking when you said hearing the one with Roddy, and my first thought was imagine if Brandon Lee had audio commentary for The Crow. I would be just devastated trying to listen to that.
The Crow is like I said. The Crow was on. I wrote an article 2 years ago. I mean, I'm writing every year for the movie side. I'm writing for a Halloween special.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 years ago, I wrote an article about the 10 best horror adaptations of comic books. And The Crow was my number one. I watch The Crow every year on Devil's Night, and
I
this
still
movie,
do.
when I was a teenager, this movie it felt like giving us a voice.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you also had like leather coats, you went to metal and everything, and I love the movie is so dark, but the message is so positive.
Yep.
And with me, the first thing that comes to my mind when I watch The Crow, when I think The Crow, is it can't rain all the time.
Just about every time it rains, I'll post that on Facebook.
Which is also funny because I don't like. I'm not a fan of the art of the Crow comic book, so I have no relation to the comic books, but I absolutely love the movie.
You mean this?
Yeah, it's like I'm not a fan of the comic.
Love it. And there's the back of the Caliber Presents #1, which I love it. I got to meet James O'Barr.
No, it's fantastic that you loved him. It's also fantastic that it's a legacy character in comics. But it is also fantastic that the Crow spawned a movie that is appreciated by Crow fans and people that are not fans of the comic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a very good tip from Big Remo. Like a movie you watch and really watch all the time, your favorite movie, and then watch the audio commentary. You immediately have a way closer relation to the movie. You really feel watching an audio commentary feels like watching the movie with the person that does the commentary.
Mm-hmm.
And the best thing is if it's two people. I think you get the most input. I watched the Reanimator audio commentary, and there were 6 people. It was chaos.
It's chaos.
Yeah.
Man.
It basically was just most of the time Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton laughing about stuff that happened on set.
I'm trying to think now, which movie do I want to give that a shot at? Because again, my first thought was The Crow, but obviously I can't do that. But
maybe there's an audio commentary with the director. The Crow.
I can't do it. I can't do
Okay,
it because the whole time he's going to be talking about how awesome it was to work with Brandon and stuff. It's like I can't.
And do the live.
All right. See if I guess my DVD has one.
Yeah, I think that The Live has an audio commentary that is a very fantastic entry point into the world of audio commentaries.
See, what did he say here? Can't watch The Crow because I want that to have a part 2, not the part 2 we get. But yeah. City of Angels and there was 3 more after that, and I watched City of Angels and I was like, I can't watch any more of these Crow movies.
I have with the sequel of The Crow. Every time I have to think back, remember the time as when you were young, there was not like this vast availability of video games.
Mm-hmm.
I played the Grow video game adaptation of the second movie so often. It was so flawed, but I still had fun doing so.
Gosh, man, I can't. All right, They Live. I'm going to give They Live a shot with the audio commentary.
You will love it, trust me. John Carpenter,
Sad.
fantastic, and Roddy Piper. And it's so fun. There's a part in the audio commentary when Roddy Piper talks about wrestling politics and how easy it was for him to be in film politics because it's nowhere near as crazy as wrestling politics. And John Carpenter, he was then, I don't want to bore you with him. John Carpenter was like, no, keep on talking. That's so interesting.
I mean, gosh, yeah, wrestling, that behind the scenes, they are crazy.
Yeah, and that was, I absolutely loved wrestling as a kid, teenager. And nowadays, I'm more interested in the politics of wrestling than watching actual wrestling matches.
I listen to the Jim Cornette podcast a lot, and he talks about so much about stuff that happened, 20, 30 years ago. And it's fascinating to hear some of the stories.
Jim Cornette, it's very fun to listen to him, but it's always good to have another opinion that he's very opinionated.
Yeah. Like AEW, he absolutely despises that with a passion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but one thing about somebody like him and Chris Jericho also, they write down everything. And that's Jericho. That's me, like in 20 years, Jericho talking about, what he was doing during these times and, in his early stuff, that would be fascinating to me. Stuff like that.
I think that Chris Jericho is one of the most intelligent people in wrestling. Also multi-talent, like huge metal fan, has his own metal band.
Fozzy I really like Fozzy.
And what I really like about him, since we both share one of our favorite bands, Halloween. German power metal band, and the Walls of Jericho is actually a tribute to the song Walls of Jericho from Halloween.
Really?
Yeah, he named his move after the song of the band.
That I did not know. Huh.
So he's a big Kai Hansen fan, and I totally appreciated that.
But is he a fan?
When I had my biggest wrestling time, I was a huge WCW mark. I preferred WCW over WWF back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I even though I wasn't the age where actually I should be the target audience for the Attitude Era, I wanted to see Hogan, I wanted to see Scott Hall, I wanted to see Kevin Nash. But I also really liked Dean Malenko and Chris Jericho, because Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit.
That cruiserweight division they had was insane.
And of course, Alex Wright, das Wunderkind.
Oh, dude, him coming to the ring dancing was hilarious.
Which is so fun because I think he's only part German because his father, Steve Wright, is a Brit, he's an Englishman. But he wrestled in Austria.
Mm-hmm. I think they say he's got a school there somewhere.
Oh yeah, he has a school in Germany, a wrestling school.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween, so fantastic. But good that you still can learn something.
Yeah. I've been learning something for the last 2.5 hours, so come on. I mean, Jericho, what I love about, like you said, he's got a heavy metal band. He's a great wrestler, Hall of Fame wrestler. He's done podcasts. His podcast is really, really good too.
And also what is so great about him, he's nobody's bitch.
Yeah.
Like he says, like, I'm going to AEW and Spy.
For example, when Brock Lesnar busted open Randy Orton, Jericho didn't know that was supposed to happen, and he jumped up in Brock Lesnar's face about it. I mean, who's going to do that?
He's he's just fantastic. And also he has so much ring intelligence. Like how often he saved other people's bodies when they botched up.
Yep. Yep. And great talker,
He's
outside
so
the ring, highly intelligent. And
yeah.
what things that he does outside the ring financially for other wrestlers and other people is also incredible too.
Let's face it, we don't deserve Chris Jericho.
I'm a Jerichoholic, and I admit it.
He's fantastic. Like how often he reinvented himself.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the list.
Yeah.
That was great.
I remember with Y2K, that was like the countdown, and I totally marked out when Jericho came out.
I had no idea what they were leading up to when they were doing that.
Yeah,
out during a Rock promo. No one does that. Who in the blue hell are you? It doesn't matter. But
and I also really like that he had the first unified title reign. That is an important part of history that nobody can take away from him.
huh.
Yeah, sometimes I really think that Chris Jericho somehow has more hours in the day than we all do.
I mean, he's written books. He's been the host of game shows and stuff. He's been in movies. What was it, Sharknado 2 or 3?
And he was great in it. Sharknado, I love Sharknado.
The most recent, what was it, Jay and Silent Bob reboot movie he was in.
Actually, I really like that movie too.
I thought it was fun. I like Jay and Silent Bob. So I mean, that whole universe, I love the Jay and Silent Bob.
I think my favorite joke in the movie was probably a very deep one. I mean, not deep, but it was not a very intelligent joke. But like we feel like the problem are the mall rats, and they were actual rats. The mall rats was such an important movie for when I was a teenager. It was the first time that I've seen my interests represented on the screen.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that whole movie to me I love it. I absolutely love that movie from the beginning. Have you done a movie show about that movie yet, Mallrats?
Not yet, but I'm pretty sure we have to.
If you do,
talk about New Jersey in the future.
That and The Crow, I would. Gosh, I mean, Mallrats to me from beginning to end is brilliant.
Yeah, I'd also have to say that Brody was my role model as a teenager.
Brody man.
You want a chocolate covered pretzel?
It's so
and
great.
Sven Ole Thorsen was also in this movie.
Huh?
Sven Ole Thorsen.
Oh, he was the security guard.
Yes.
Yeah. Fly, fat ass, fly. and he blows the hat off of him. And he's like,
The fool.
I mean, like that's one of those movies that I've watched so many times. I can just about quote the movie. I love it.
Yeah, this movie is, I can see all the 90s tropes and things that date this movie, but this movie, just I'm watching it and it fills my heart with joy. It's like, this is when I understand when my parents, like, talking about movies they grew up with and that defined them when they were young.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with Mallrats is this movie just brings me joy.
I regret when I met Stanley a few years ago at a meet and greet. I regret not asking him about Mallrats.
Yeah, I
really wish I had done that. And before that, they say you're not allowed to ask about movies. So I'm sure that meant the Marvel universe, but I was like, you know what? I'm not going to mention Mallrats just in case. But I'm sure they wouldn't have cared if I asked about Mallrats. But at the same time, I'm like, he said movies. I'll listen to it.
When Mallrats came out, it was, you knew when you were into comics, like, oh my God, it's Stan Lee, you knew him. But it was before he hit really the mainstream.
The Peeves.
Of course, you heard his voice in the SpiderMan cartoon, like in the introduction.
Mm-hmm.
But Mallrats really was before Stan Lee was like this household name.
Yeah. I mean, I assume he was in something before that, but to me, that is his original movie for me.
Yeah.
I mean, when he did the what was it, the Vulture sequel? I can't say the word now. When he was talking, he's like, "Your friend has kind of a fascination."
Yeah, with the genitalia of super.
What about the thing? Is his dork made out of rock?
I was love discussions like he says like talking about Superman he can't get Lois Lane pregnant even if like he would shoot the sperm right through her, like only there's like a superior body like Wonder Woman's can sustain Superman's sperm.
Hey,
and you know what's funny?
What's that? The whole movie, first of all, but yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about Mallrats. Since I've seen it before Chasing Amy.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since, I thought there's something off about Ben Affleck. Because of the role he plays like this arrogant jerk in Mallrats.
Yeah.
So this was basically my first introduction to Ben Affleck. And ever since, it's like, there's still something shady about it.
Do you have anything to say? Well, many things, but I can't say it monosyllabically enough for you to understand. I mean, when Brody's walking backwards, he said, "You need to look to the future." He turns around, wham! I mean, that scene right there to me, I mean, gosh, well, I was going to say that scene right there basically encapsulates the whole movie, but it doesn't. It's so great.
Yeah, this like this movie is just it really captures the time it was created in.
Yeah.
Hey, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody hasn't seen the movie, highly recommend it.
Yeah, and I think it's the best one. I mean, Dogma is fantastic.
I think that movie.
Chasing Amy, especially as comic book fans, Chasing Amy is a watch. Jane Silent Bob Strikes Back is hilarious and introduced me to Will Ferrell.
Yeah. What was the one I did not like? See, Clerks, I love. That was the first movie I saw was Clerks, then Mallrats. But Clerks 2, not a big fan of.
Mm-hmm. And I absolutely dislike Kevin Smith's horror movies. Like Yoga Hosers and...
what was that? Tusk? That was...
It was not a good movie.
To me, that is just absolute trash.
I think the premise is very interesting, but the movie wasn't good.
Yeah.
And I think the Red State is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
That was not good. Yeah.
I think Red State, I think he was in a very bad mindset when he did this movie.
Because when he was doing Tusk, there's a documentary on Amazon. I think it's Amazon Prime. And he's like, man, this is going to be a great movie. We're going to make $1 million. We're going to be rich off this movie. I'm like, what were you thinking, Kevin Smith?
Like, the premise is so silly and interesting that it could have been. But the execution was not good. I think with Kevin Smith I don't think he's an overly talented guy. And he really needs to stick to the things that he can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the Jane Silent Bob reboot was a very good comeback.
Yep. I mean,
what I love most about it is that he made fun of the way cinema is going now, but also showed a way to understand to make the audience understand why they're going this way. Mm-hmm. So you have a really good perception, like especially through the kids in the movie.
Hmm. Very good movie.
Yeah, I mean it's not a it's like it's not a deconstruction of Hollywood by any sense. It's a very fun movie.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. See, I like Kevin Smith from the aspect of I feel like he's just a guy like us that loves comic books and then turned that into kind of a movie empire. He's got the podcasts out there. Had Comic Book Men, which I loved watching. So I mean, I give him a lot of credit for where he's
Yeah,
going.
and
Again, some of the things that he does, I'm like, really, dude?
he's also one of these guys where when he almost died 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
a heart attack, where I was like, I'm really thankful he's still around. Like I've never met the guy, but I really think the world is a better place with him in it.
Yeah. Okay. Unpopular opinion. I'm not a fan of Quentin Tarantino movies.
Me neither.
Finally, someone else that agrees with him.
You
There.
know, you know
Are
what
we
my
related?
you know what my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie is?
What's that?
True Romance, because he didn't directed it.
Really?
Tony Scott directed. The script is by Quentin Tarantino, but Tony Scott directed True Romance. I'm not a big fan of Tarantino, uh, mostly because I mean he's a good director. He has a very good sense for cinematography. He
Yeah.
is a really good writer. But my big quarrel with Tarantino is that why should I watch Tarantino movie when he basically copies the movies that I love? I'd rather watch the original copies.
I did like Kill Bill, the first one.
Kill Bill also good, but it's like, should I watch Kill Bill or should I watch Lady Snowblood? Gonna watch Lady Snowblood.
I don't know that movie, so there you go.
Watch Lady Snowblood. And you basically know what the first arc of Kill Bill is about.
Yeah, man. Oh, goodness, I've got a long list from these 3 hours. It's funny. I've got this long list of stuff I need to watch. You've got nothing. But you do have this. I really want to be on if you do Mallrats and The Crow.
Yes, that's when we do that. It's a promise we're gonna invite you.
Man,
I
golly.
think we have slowly to end it because I think Sean's show starts in 30
Yeah,
minutes.
that's what I was going to say. I was going to like, yeah, it's about 15 minutes. So I was about to say we need to close it down now. We're closing it down on Kevin Smith, but I do
I
want to
don't
see
want to sabotage my streaming partner.
Remo did say he used to go to that comic shop. I do want to go to that shop. I really do. Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash. I don't know why it doesn't look like that great a shop. I guess just because in Red Bank, New Jersey. So there you go. But you got anything to promote?
To promote it, if you care, watch my channel. I'm talking about movies every Friday with Sean, Stay Path 1983. Also subscribe to his channel. And after the stream, go on his channel because he has his Saturday show. Yeah, on my channel, yeah, other than talking about movies, I also talk about comics, especially Sword and Sorcery comics, Red Sonja, Conan, but also science fiction, erotica like Vampirella, Deja Torres. I was thinking talking about Transformers, but I really think that would be a little bit too much then.
Yeah, because we get on the Transformers road, that's an hour in itself.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love Transformers.
I just kind of started getting into the Transformers comics about a year ago. So again, let me stop. So we can shut it down.
I also started now to collect the British Transformers comics and the American Transformers comics.
You've posted some of those on your Instagram, and I'm just like, gosh, those are awesome.
The British ones are so fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the horror aspect in the British ones is also created by Simon Furman.
Is Action Force like a G.I. Joe?
Yep, that's the European name for G.I. Joe because you
Oh.
can't see G.I. Joe here. Nobody would buy it. Believe it or not, the US military doesn't have a very good reputation outside of the US.
Well, one of my friends, when he went to Europe, he was stationed in Germany for a long time. So there you go.
Yeah. It's also funny. It's like, when we always like see how the Americans fight over Democrats and Republicans, and when they ask you European guys, like, your foreign policy is evil anyway. It's like, doesn't matter who wins for the foreign policy. Who drops the bombs? It's like, doesn't matter.
That's right. All right, guys. We're going to take off now. Thank you so much for being on. I've been wanting to meet you. I mean, well, I think we were on one stream one time with Puff. But this is the first time we've really got to sit down and talk. Had a blast.
Fantastic Saturday. Really enjoyed it here. And I can't wait when we have you over. I mean, you can already October. We're going to do the Crow this year.
Let's say it. It's on the schedule. Man, if that would be on Devil's Night, oh, that would be so awesome.
You have to say, if Devil's Night is on a Friday, that would be perfect.
Exactly. Excellent. But that's all we got. And you guys have an incredible day.